Chapter 992. The yellow heavens shall rise, and the great Tao shall return. This had always been a prophecy. Who would have thought that it would actually be true? Everyone was stunned as they felt the unfamiliar pressure of the great Tao. It was as if the heavens had come alive and were slowly recovering. The gods in the endless chaos looked up at the same time, feeling as if they were being stared at. It wasn't just one person who felt this. Everyone had this feeling, and this feeling was getting stronger and stronger. The will contained in that gaze was getting stronger and stronger. Whoosh! A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky, and the entire universe was changing. The earth was stable, and the mountains were thick. The majestic aura caused the gods' hearts to tremble. Boom! 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 Then 2 more bolts of lightning appeared. They were so fast that the gods couldn't resist. They directly pierced through Li Feng and Gu Qingyu's defenses and knocked them down from the sky. Bang! The 2 of them crashed into the ground. The solid soil seemed to be even harder than steel, and it blocked the aftershocks. Whoosh! 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 Tens of billions of bolts of lightning covered the sky, drowning the entire chaotic universe and countless stars. Oh my God! What is the heavenly Tao doing? The Desa clan elder roared in despair. He found that the lightning had turned into countless small bolts of lightning that struck the bodies of all living beings. Even beings below the emperor level couldn't escape, let alone powerful overgods. Boom! Boom! Whoosh! Millions of bolts of lightning surrounded the Azura region and struck everyone indiscriminately. There was no way to dodge them. Boom! The dozens of overgods were all sent flying, but the lightning streaked past Yi Qinghan and struck Di Longtian, who was protecting Yi Qinghan. Bang! 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 Li Feng, Gu Qingyu, the Desa clan elder, Dongfang Ao, and the other overgods were shocked. They found that the lightning was actually suppressing their realms. At the same time, countless light years away, on the 2 sides of the true Dragon River, countless armies were struck by lightning. The lightning here was so dense that it was like a net of electricity. No one could dodge it, and no one could escape. The lightning even pierced through the ground, leaving the overgods with no way to escape. What's going on? Is this a divine punishment? Even their battle constitutions couldn't escape this disaster. They were attacked by the great Tao, and each time they dodged, their cultivation realm would drop. However, their battle constitution's foundations were becoming stronger and stronger. For a moment, they didn't know if they should be happy or sad. All living beings were in despair. Some were forcefully demoted from half-step lord level to great emperor level, bathing in rivers of blood. Those supreme chief gods were no longer the high and mighty chief gods they once were. Their cultivation levels were rapidly dropping from half-step chief god level to high-level high god level, low-level high god level, intermediate high god level. In the end, they were all beaten down to lesser god level. What genius! What expert! When the yellow sky is re-established and the great Tao returns, all of them will return to their original forms. No one can escape this fate. The heavenly Tao only acknowledged the 3,600 chief gods and supreme gods of the past. Apart from their chaos giant god divine cores, all other chief gods and half-step chief gods would be beaten back to their original forms. Far away in the depths of the Chaosverse, Emperor Yi and a large group of inner sect experts were also locked down by the lightning. No one could escape, and many experts were smashed into the depths of the Chaosverse by the lightning, almost falling into the abyss. Emperor Yi was shocked. He revealed his true form as a chaos giant dragon and let out a long roar that caused the celestial river to collapse. Roar! Emperor Yi transformed into a 1,000,000-feet-long dragon and swooped down to sweep the inner sect experts away. However, the lightning could still attack them indiscriminately. Emperor Ye's body suffered the least damage because his divine core was a supreme divine core. The heavenly Tao could do nothing to him, and a supreme divine core did not require the heavenly Tao's acknowledgement. The inner sect experts' expressions changed drastically. They had never been so terrified. If not for Emperor Yi, they would have died here today. Now that they were standing on the giant dragon and resisting the lightning, although their cultivation levels were dropping, at least they had a foothold. Boom! Whoosh! 2 thick bolts of lightning shot out from the end of chaos. They were even larger than the giant dragon Emperor Yi had transformed into. They cut across the void and split into 2, charging toward the demonic god mountain and the sorcerer god's ancestral land respectively. The destructive aura pressed down on the ancestral lands of the 2 factions. Boom! The heavenly Tao seemed to be taking revenge on the 2 factions. The lightning here was especially terrifying. Not only could it cause one's cultivation level to drop, but it was also offensive. The lightning turned into swimming dragons and directly overturned the demonic god mountain and the sorcerer god's ancestral land. Poof! The second-generation sorcerer god and the strongest experts of the demonic god mountain were all sent flying. The blood in their aged bodies dried up, and their bodies were almost smashed into pieces. They rolled on the ground for tens of thousands of feet. The ground was riddled with scars and deep ravines. In the depths of the divine demon region, the divine python flood dragon was being chased by a bolt of lightning. It cried out miserably as it soared 90,000 miles into the sky. Everyone in the horizon could see that the divine aura emitted by the divine python flood dragon had silenced 10,000 creatures. The divine demon region was almost destroyed by its tail. Chaos, everything was in chaos. The heavenly Tao seemed to have its own will. It had been shattered in the past, and now it had returned. Not only did it want to beat those so-called geniuses back to their original forms, it also wanted to take revenge on the 2 factions. The entire universe was under attack. It didn't matter which power it was. Apart from the mortals who didn't cultivate, everyone was attacked. Everything had to be recultivated, everything had to be restarted. Whether or not one was a genius would depend on whether or not one could still be unstoppable under the heavenly Tao's reappearance. However, there was one powerful cultivator who wasn't attacked. That was Yi Qinghan. Perhaps it was a blessing in disguise, or perhaps it was a blessing in disguise. This was because his martial Tao source was gone, and his godhead was as good as crippled. It stood in his sea of consciousness without the slightest bit of divine power or realm. All he had was that powerful body of his. Yi Qinghan's divine robes were piercingly cold, and his black hair danced in the wind. His hands were behind his back, and his back was facing the myriad creatures. He looked up at the blue dome of heaven, standing on a mountain peak in the Azura region. He gazed at the interweaving lightning above the dark clouds. It seemed as if there was nothing else in the universe apart from lightning. Is this only the beginning of the storm? The heavenly Tao hasn't completely awakened yet. This is just a manifestation of its muddle-headed state. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. He found a pair of eyes staring at him, staring at the spirit pet and godhead in his sea of consciousness. He couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. At the foot of the Azura Sex Mountain, more than 20 main gods were badly mutilated. Their physical realm was incomparably miserable. This was especially true for Li Feng, Gu Qingyu, and Di Longtian. The 3 of them were true kings of the same realm, comparable to existences with battle constitutions. Therefore, the lightning couldn't reduce their realms at all, causing them to be unable to breathe. Mu Zhuang was also in a more miserable state. It was as if a divine whip had lashed his body, causing him to scream miserably. The Desa clan elder was almost completely destroyed. His realm had been completely shattered, and he was only left with the realm of intermediate god. He was lying on the ground on the verge of death. The others' realms were more or less the same. Almost all of them had been reduced to the realm of intermediate god. Only Dongfang Ao remained in the realm of high god. However, the torment he was enduring was only second to Li Feng and Gu Qingyu. Di Longtian was lashed by the lightning to the point of tears. He couldn't dodge it, and the lightning wouldn't reduce his realm. The more he didn't reduce his realm, the more the lightning would attack. It was an endless cycle. *CK your mother, arg. D. Long Tian covered his butt and scurried around, cursing the heavens. He roared in anger, "Can't you just hit me once? Don't torture me like this." Li Feng and Gu Qingyu were even more miserable. Humans had limits, and the heavens were heartless. They couldn't resist the control of the heavenly Tao. Although this kind of torture could help them improve, they couldn't control their bodies and souls. After all, they weren't Yi Qinghan and didn't have a saint body. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't expect the heavenly Tao to be so unreliable before it fully awakened. He clenched his fists and wanted to help the two block the lightning. Chapter 993. The heavenly Tao had just awakened and was still in a muddle-headed state. It was very difficult to strike down the realm of a true genius. In truth, Li Feng and Gu Qingyu were not the only ones suffering. Wu Jiang, Mo Li, and the other overgods with the primal chaos god's godhood were also affected. The latter were extremely powerful and had powerful origin godhood. They were the primal chaos gods recognized by the heavenly Tao. However, their god force was far from being recognized by the heavenly Tao. They had to be struck down and recultivated. Being struck down was an advantage for true geniuses. They would be absolutely invincible against those of the same realm, but the process was very painful. There would be terrifying geniuses in every corner of the universe being chased down by lightning. It was difficult for them to fall in realm. The lightning was simply torturous. Miserable screams echoed through the sky. At this rate, not many would be able to survive. Yi Qinghan could see the problem. The more one defended their realm, the more ordinary the attacks would be. Li Feng, Gu Qingyu, and Di Longtian were not weak, but they were far from being comparable to the primal chaos god. Even Yi Qinghan himself was far from being comparable. Back then, the luminous martial battle physique was ranked 5th, and the serpent divine flood dragon was slightly weaker than him. One could imagine how terrifying the battle physique was back then. Try to give up your current realm and let the heavenly Tao strike you down. The heavenly Tao knows best what kind of realm is suitable for you. Yi Qinghan reminded. Di Longtian wanted to cry but had no tears. He roared, "I'm already not resisting, but it can't be struck down." What kind of heavenly Tao is this? Di Longtian was not the only one thinking this. Gu Qingyu and Li Feng were even more miserable than Di Longtian. They could not be struck down at all, and the lightning they received was thousands of times more than the others. Their bodies were about to be torn apart. The heavenly Tao is still in a muddle-headed state. If you really can't do it, just cooperate with the heavenly Tao and give up your current realm. Yi Qinghan ran down from the mountain peak. The lightning kept avoiding him. Even if he wanted to help, he was powerless. Boom! Another few hundred bolts of lightning enveloped the three of them. Di Longtian clutched his head, then his butt. He wished he could become an octopus right now so that he could protect his entire body. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough hands. Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the frantic Di Longtian. He chuckled and said, "Calm down. Use your godhead and cooperate with the heavenly Tao to disperse your realm. So what if you get struck by lightning a few times?" Di Longtian jumped 3 feet into the air after being struck by the lightning. He almost rode on Yi Qinghan's waist as tears of pain streamed down his face. This kind of lightning was simply too torturous. If it wasn't for Yi Qinghan holding on to him, he wouldn't have been able to calm down. "Ouch, it hurts!" Di Longtian howled. "Now listen to me and relax. Use your divine power to break through your own realm. Leave the final strike to the heavenly Tao lightning. It won't harm your origin." Yi Qinghan pressed Di Longtian to the ground, not allowing him to move. It took a lot of effort for him to calm down. Only then did Di Longtian calm down completely. He used his god power to cooperate with the lightning to attack his realm. How did he cultivate to this level? Now, he was being struck down. No matter how strong a genius was, they wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from the heavenly Tao. Boom! Another bolt of lightning struck down. Di Longtian's hair stood on end. If it weren't for Yi Qinghan holding on to him, he would have fled faster than anyone else. Bang! The lightning pierced through Di Longtian's sea of consciousness. The dragon mark on his hand became even clearer, as if it wanted to break through the heavens. Buzz! Di Longtian felt dizzy. His body trembled, and he almost went limp. Whoosh! Di Longtian's chief god persona and lord-level cultivation base were shattered right away. His godhead slowly condensed to half-step lord level. Right after that, another bolt of lightning shattered the newly condensed godhead again, slowly condensing it into a higher godhead. After reaching the lower upper godhead level, the lightning stopped attacking. Only then did Di Longtian calm down. He looked up at the sky and cursed the heavenly Tao. Don't mess around when you're muddle-headed. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Back when the 10 great battle constitutions were gathered and the primal chaos universe became one, the heavenly Tao should have slowly condensed. It took countless epochs for the heavenly Tao to condense. From this, one could see how much damage the heavenly Tao had suffered in the primal chaos era. With Yi Qinghan's reminder, Gu Qingyu and Li Feng cooperated with the heavenly Tao and lowered their realms. They remained at the advanced stage of the high god realm. However, their combat strength was already at the peak of the same realm. Their attacks were absolutely fatal. The high gods, who were invincible among their peers, were forced back to the advanced stage of the high god realm by the heavenly Tao. A group of high gods were forced back to the intermediate stage, and some were even forced back to the lower stage. As for the half-step high gods, they were forced back to the great emperor realm. They couldn't even be considered as emperors. This was how it should be in the era of the heavenly Tao. There were only 3,500 high gods and 21 high gods. The heavenly Tao didn't approve of any of them. Those who defied the heavenly Tao would die. Those who obeyed the heavenly Tao would grieve. The heavenly Tao had suffered once. In this era, it was almost impossible for there to be so many high gods and high gods again. Groan. Emperor Yi brought the inner sect experts Blue Yao, Zixian, and the others back to the Azura domain. They were covered in blood, and their eyes were filled with fear and shock. Their realms had all fallen to the lower and intermediate stages. Even Zixian and Dong Qin, the celestial treasure battle constitution, had their realms reduced significantly. The universe was changing constantly. Mountain ranges rose from the ground, and the real chaotic universe slowly appeared in front of the world. It was vast and boundless, and it made people despair. Some huge stars rotated at high speed in the depths of the chaos. Flames that surpassed the high god level were born, and they could destroy a high god at any time. The dangerous places of the chaotic era also appeared. Many dangerous places that had disappeared before mysteriously appeared in the depths of the chaos. A low roar sounded like a demon from hell, and it made people's hair stand on end. Mountain ranges rose, and the miasma was thick. Some dangerous places that had never appeared before also appeared in the chaotic plane. The universe's planes extended endlessly. The so-called gods seemed insignificant and powerless at this moment. The power of nature was boundless, and no one could resist it. The demon god mountain was destroyed and turned into ruins by lightning. The ancestral land of the sorcerer tribe didn't have it easy either. The second sorcerer god came from the chaotic era, and his realm was recognized by the heavenly Tao. However, the heavenly Tao retaliated and almost killed him. In the chaotic universe, all the cultivators' realms fell by at least 1 or 2 major realms, except for a few people. The serpent was also beaten until its skin and flesh were lacerated. It wailed continuously. At this moment, the dark clouds dispersed and the lightning disappeared. It was heavily injured, and no one knew where it escaped to. The danger was gone, but Yi Qinghan felt more and more uneasy. It was as if a pair of invisible eyes were staring at him, and it made him uncomfortable. Emperor Yi noticed Yi Qinghan's uneasiness and hurriedly asked, "Master, what's wrong?" Yi Qinghan couldn't find where the eyes were or what they wanted to do. The unknown made him feel the most uneasy. "I don't know. It seems like the heavenly Tao wants to force my realm back, but it can't find my martial arts origin, and it can't lock onto my godhood," Yi Qinghan murmured. The calamities of others had ended, but Yi Qinghan's had not yet begun. However, it didn't mean that he could avoid this calamity. He knew best that once the heavenly Tao woke up and left its muddle-headed state, it would definitely find him first. The heavenly Tao was awakening, and it was showing its might. It was telling the world that it was the ruler of the world. Chapter 994. The divine punishment was over, and the chaotic universe was in a mess. It was like a different world, but the people were still the same, but their realms had all changed. They felt their realms in despair. They were terrified and did not know what to do. How can this be? How did my chief god level reach the level of a medium god? This is impossible. A roar echoed in the valley, but it did not travel more than 2 miles. The valley did not suffer a huge attack, and the aura became abnormally dense, making the gods feel powerless. This was the real chaotic universe, and it was very difficult to destroy it. In the Azura region, all the experts were beaten back to their original state. They were all stunned. The Azura battle team's realms were all lower god realm, and no one was spared. Most of the higher-ups of the Alliance were middle-rank and low-rank priests. Looking at the group of masters from the insane sect, even the weakest of them was a middle-rank priest. There was not much drop in the number of masters of the king gods. Most of them were low-rank masters of the supreme deity level, which was 1 level higher than them. Yi Qinghan stepped forward and consoled them. "Don't worry, everyone. If our insights drop, their insights will drop as well. There are very few lesser gods in the entire Chaosverse, to say nothing of exalted gods. There are probably less than 300 sovereigns. The day before, there were countless main gods. Including the second-rate ones, there were at least tens of thousands. But now, Yi Qinghan guessed that 300 was a bit too much. Everyone, go back and comfort your clansmen. Right now, it's not just us powerful overgods who are suffering. Everyone's cultivation levels have fallen, and they will have to recultivate. So, there's no need to panic or feel sad," Yi Qinghan said solemnly. Everyone took the gate and left. Yi Qinghan stared at them and said hoarsely, "Go back to the endless star system and comfort the people. Then, teach them to cultivate according to the most correct method. Now is the best time for the endless star system to rise. Everything is fair, and we all rose from the bottom. Son, go and see if little Wentian is okay. I am more worried about her," Yi Qinghan said to Emperor Yi alone. Emperor Yi immediately charged back into the endless solar system. His enormous dragon blotted out the sky, and he quickly returned to Owl Warstar. Aside from the sovereigns from the primordial chaos era, she was the one who had suffered the least in terms of cultivation. Owl Warstar had become hundreds of times bigger, and many unfamiliar mountains and creatures had appeared. The creatures there had also changed. Emperor Yi scanned the crowd and realized that this world was really strange and hard to grasp. When they arrived at the crazed sect, they found that the cultivation of the young disciples had dropped to the Imperial Emperor realm and even the Great Emperor realm. They were terrified and confused. "Don't panic, everyone. This is just the return of the Great Path. Our cultivation must be recognized by it. It is a realm that was redivided according to the combat power of the same level in the chaotic era. It will only bring us benefits and no harm. Everyone, stabilize your realm for the time being. Don't cultivate and wait for the crazy sex arrangement." Emperor Yi whispered, but his voice spread to every corner of the Xiaolong region. The people slowly calmed down. Since Emperor Yi had spoken, there was no need to be afraid. They just had to wait for the crazy sect's arrangement. In the depths of the inner sect, Qin Wentian's hands were locked by Yi Qintian, and his legs were pressed down. He was riding on her body. Their posture was very strange. Qin Wentian roared, "You bastard, let go of me! Be careful or I will kill you!" "Are you sure you still have your rationality?" Yi Qintian asked nervously. "Nonsense, Yi Qintian, are you looking for death? How dare you press on me in broad daylight? Aunt and uncle will definitely kill you when they come back." Qin Wentian was flustered and exasperated. His IQ was no longer that of a 3-year-old. Yi Qinghan's suppression had lost its effect, but he did not go crazy like last time. Yi Qintian was at a loss. Qin Wentian's behavior was too strange. "Let go of me first. I am really fine." Qin Wentian's hands were locked behind his back, and his legs were almost pressed to his head. If it wasn't for his great flexibility, his body would have been broken. Now that his godly power was suppressed by Yi Qintian, he could only beg for mercy. Yi Qintian was unmoved. Everything had to wait for Yi Qinghan to come back. His cultivation level had dropped to the lower level of High God, while Qin Wentian's cultivation level remained at the upper level of High God. If he let go of Qin Wentian now, who knew what she would do? "My good husband, I beg you, this posture is very uncomfortable." Qin Wentian wanted to cry but had no tears. He could only plead with Yi Qintian. "Bear with it a little longer. Father will be back soon. I am the only one left in the inner sect. I can't beat you now, so I don't dare to let go of you," Yi Qintian said helplessly. At this moment, Emperor Yi stepped into the inner sect. Seeing the strange posture of the two, he rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Let go of her. How did I give birth to such a useless son?" Only then did Yi Qintian let go and laugh. "Auntie. It's good that you're back. This bastard locked me up here for 2 hours without asking any questions. My legs are about to break." Qin Wentian kept shaking his hands and legs to move his joint. Emperor Yi looked at the recovered Qin Wentian and found that she was different from before. He couldn't help but ask, "Wentian, how do you feel now?" "Auntie, I'm fine. In the past, I always felt muddle-headed, but now there are many things that I can't remember." "I feel much better now," Qin Wentian replied. "Then do you know the Demon God Mountain? Do you know the great Demon God?" Emperor Yi asked in surprise. "Yes, I should be the #1 executive elder of the Demon God Mountain. Below the great Demon God, I am above millions of people," Qin Wentian said excitedly. Emperor Yi moved his finger. He knew that all the restrictions on Qin Wentian had been destroyed by the heavenly Tao. Qin Wentian's future was out of control. "Then will you go to the Demon God Mountain or stay in the Kuang sect?" Emperor Yi immediately asked. "Of course I'll stay with Uncle and Auntie. As for the Demon God Mountain, I have a position there. When I need them, I will go there for a stroll. When I don't need them, I won't go. I'm not familiar with them anyway." Qin Wentian grinned. Her smile was very pure, without the slightest bit of evil. Emperor Yi didn't dare to believe it. Was this girl's words true? "You're not lying to Auntie?" Emperor Yi asked very seriously. "No, why would I lie to you? I didn't eat a single grain of rice from the Demon God Mountain, nor did I receive any benefit. I was raised by my uncle. I have a foolish husband and such a good aunt. Why would I leave you?" Qin Wentian pounced over and grabbed Yi Huang's hand. He looked at Yi Qintian with disdain. Emperor Yi smiled and patted Qin Wentian's little head. He thought to himself, could it be that the heavenly Tao's lightning punishment not only caused her cultivation level to drop, but also caused master suppression to scatter? It even caused the great demonic god's fate gene to scatter? What kind of monstrous physique is this ethereal body? It is actually so favored by the heavenly Tao. Yi Qintian shrugged. He was known as the great god Qintian, but Qin Wentian actually treated him as a fool. He couldn't even refute. Chapter 995. In the primal chaos universe, the aura of primal chaos permeated the mountains and rivers. Everything was blurry, and the high and mighty gods were no longer everywhere. There were only a few hundred true supreme experts, and they were scattered all over the universe. Even sovereign gods couldn't reach the other side quickly. The two factions with the strongest foundations managed to preserve more than half of their strength after the lightning tribulation. They had the most people with the primal chaos giant god's divinity, and their divinity wouldn't be destroyed. However, their cultivation bases fell the most, and some even fell from sovereign god to lower god. Their strength was worlds apart from being recognized by the heavenly Tao. Other than Qin Wentian, the other factions had it the worst. Their cultivation bases had all fallen to the monarch realm, but their combat prowess was still ridiculously strong. Qin Wentian didn't cultivate in the first place and had always been suppressed by Yi Qinghan. Now, she only knew her own inherited memories, so she had the advantage. Her cultivation base didn't fall, but her source energy grew by a lot. She could travel through space at will, and even divine weapons and barriers couldn't stop her. Yi Qinghan returned from the Azura region. Seeing Qin Wentian's transformation, he felt a little uneasy. If something happened to Qin Wentian now, he wouldn't even have the chance to capture her. "Uncle, I have many new innate techniques in my mind," Qin Wentian said as though she was presenting a treasure. Yi Qinghan smiled and patted Qin Wentian's head. He whispered, "Come with me, I have something to tell you." Qin Wentian nodded as he followed Yi Qinghan up the mountain, all the way until they reached the peak. The clouds at the peak were so close that they could touch them with their hand. Spiritual herbs could be seen everywhere, and the spiritual qi here was abundant. Chaos divine qi enveloped the entire place, creating a beautiful scene. The two of them didn't speak. Qin Wentian kept looking at Yi Qinghan's back. He was cold and sorrowful, and seemed to have aged a lot. She vaguely remembered that when she was very young, Yi Qinghan carried her in his arms to hide from thousands of enemies. At that time, her uncle was invincible, but now she didn't feel that way. Instead, she felt that he was easy to defeat. At the peak of the mountain, there was a stone table that had been polished in the past. There were also a few stone stools. Yi Qinghan slowly sat down, indicating for Qin Wentian to sit opposite him. "Wentian, all your suppressions have been destroyed by the lightning punishment. The devil god gene inheritance has also been destroyed. Let me ask you a few questions. I hope you won't lie to me," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Qin Wentian had never seen Yi Qinghan speaking to her in such a solemn manner. She couldn't help but feel a sense of fear that came from her soul. No matter how strong she was, even if she could insta-kill Yi Qinghan, she wouldn't dare to act. It was as though Yi Qinghan was her father. No matter how strong a child was, how could they act against their father? "Uncle, I won't lie to you." Qin Wentian's tender face was filled with reverence as he bowed. "First question, the world is in chaos. Right now, the order of the world is changing. The two camps are still two camps, and no one can fight against them. If the Devil God Mountain needed your help to deal with the witch race, would you choose to help or not?" Yi Qinghan asked calmly. Qin Wentian hesitated for a moment. She looked into Yi Qinghan's eyes and murmured, "I will help." Yi Qinghan nodded. He knew that the inheritance that came from the soul would not be destroyed, not even by the heavenly Tao. That natural sense of duty would never be lost. The battle body that belonged to the great demonic god's bloodline belonged to the great demonic god after all. Second question, if the insane sect and the Devil God Mountain were to fight to the death, who would you side with? Yi Qinghan asked again. Qin Wentian was stunned. She was a little flustered under Yi Qinghan's stare. She looked away and pursed her lips, not knowing how to answer. Yi Qinghan sighed and looked up at the sky. He couldn't bear to kill Qin Wentian now. After all, she was a child that he had raised since she was young. She was also his daughter-in-law in name. Moreover, she was hesitating now, which meant that she still had feelings for the insane sect. I don't want Uncle to fight with them. They are very powerful. In my memory, they are invincible, especially the great demonic god. No one can fight against him. Even the witch god died in battle. Uncle, we can let the insane sect stand tall in the world. We don't have to fight with them. Qin Wentian lowered his head and said, I don't want to fight, but who can escape fate? I don't want to fight, but it doesn't mean that others will let me maintain a neutral position. You will understand in the future. What I think now is not important. What is important is what the people of the two camps think. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. If we have to fight, I will not help the Devil God Mountain, and I will not let anyone hurt Uncle. Qin Wentian said firmly. You don't care about fighting against the Devil God Emoli? Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed and a smile appeared on his face. Yes, even if I have to be his enemy. Qin Wentian replied seriously. Yi Qinghan sighed. He was confident that Qin Wentian didn't lie to him. He didn't care if Qin Wentian would help him or not. He only cared that she didn't want to fight with him. Even if she chose to remain neutral, he would feel more comfortable. I will let Chen Tian send you back to the Devil God Mountain. Cultivate the ethereal body. Only when you are strong can you decide your own fate. Remember, don't trust anyone. Don't let anyone touch your sea of consciousness. No one, understand? Yi Qinghan warned. Yes, I only trust Uncle. Qin Wentian said without hesitation. Yi Qinghan's heart trembled. He clenched his fists and said in a hoarse voice, In the end, in the chaotic battle, you can only keep your inner thoughts. Even if you don't trust me, you can't trust the master of the Devil God Mountain who is in charge of teaching you. You must have your own thoughts and keep your own sense of right and wrong. No one can decide your fate, whether it's me or the will of the Devil God Mountain. Qin Wentian suddenly felt that the distance between him and Yi Qinghan was getting further and further apart. However, he also understood that Yi Qinghan was teaching him. He was truly protecting him and not using him. That kind of sincere feeling surpassed all willpower. Uncle, I used to think that you were very noble, even more noble than father. But why do I feel that you are very pitiful now? Qin Wentian raised his head and asked in confusion. Yi Qinghan looked into Qin Wentian's eyes. He knew that she really felt that way. Yi Qinghan laughed and replied in a hoarse voice, Pitiful? How can that be? I have always been me. I have never changed. Qin Wentian didn't say anything else. She understood that this feeling wasn't because Yi Qinghan was pitiful. It was because of his protectiveness. She couldn't help but want to protect him. Yi Qinghan sent Qin Wentian off with his eyes. He knew that Qin Wentian was his weakness. In the future, he would definitely win or lose because of her. If he killed her now, the Kuang sect would be consigned to eternal damnation. They would definitely suffer the wrath of the Devil God Mountain. The witch race would only watch from the sidelines. They would let both sides suffer and reap the benefit. I hope you will remember what I said today. Yi Qinghan mumbled to himself. Chapter 996. Demon God Mountain was reorganized after 3 days. When the head count was done, it was discovered that the number of lords had decreased sharply. There were only 100 lords left, and there were less than 20,000 half-step lords. Moreover, the half-step lords were from affiliated organizations, and half of the Chaos Giant gods were not direct descendants of Demon God Mountain. The top existence, Yushin, looked down on everyone. Even the demon god's heir, Emoli, had to show him respect and address him as Sir. Seeing that there were so few people left, he was under great pressure. He did not even have the confidence to fight against the witch tribe. Order everyone in the True Dragon River battle zone to return. Only leave some people to guard the True Dragon Bridge, Yushin ordered, and the order was quickly passed down. Emoli had been severely injured by the lightning punishment last time. Currently, Yushin was in charge of all important matters in Demon God Mountain. Everyone knew that the current situation was not suitable for a battle to the death. The most important thing now was to develop their own abilities, reorganize their forces, and rope in other small organizations to fight for resources. Yushin had another thing to worry about, which was the ethereal being. He had yet to gain control of the ethereal being. The ethereal being was a top existence that would surpass him in the future. However, the insane sect was not to be trifled with. There were so many elites, and the witch tribe was eyeing them covetously. They even had to pass through the Azure region. Otherwise, the insane sect would have discovered the army taking a detour. Mo-Shi, lead the Corpse Demon Legion to suppress the southeast. Kill anyone who doesn't surrender. Elder Xingyang, lead the Corpse Demon Legion to the south. Kill all organizations regardless of size as long as they don't resist. Elder Yang Kuren, you lead. Yushin began to mobilize the 18 armies of Demon God Mountain. He wanted to sweep through the Chaos Plain and control most of the territories. He wanted to enslave the people to help Demon God Mountain search for precious resources and provide cultivation resources for his combat physique. With Demon God Mountain doing this, the Witch Tribe would obviously use this opportunity to spread the evil of Demon God Mountain and call upon all the tribes in the universe to fight Demon God Mountain together. For a time, many unfamiliar tribes rushed out from the vast universe. They were extremely powerful. There were very few tribes with lords, but there were many half-step lords. When they gathered together, everyone had to give them face. Powerful shapeshifted lifeforms had an advantage over humans of the same level. They were naturally gifted and had a strong killing intent. They did not trust humans and viewed them with hatred. With all the races gathered together, the Demon God Mountain immediately found it difficult to handle. They immediately stopped their advance. In the current situation, everyone was in danger. In order to survive, they could only band together and fight against the two factions. At this moment, the top 30 forces of the chaotic universe began to contact each other and bind themselves together to fight against the two camps. Some of them chose to be loyal to the Sorcerer Tribe or the Demon God Mountain, but they were too weak. Even if they joined the two camps, they would only be cannon fodder and die faster. Yoshin's white hair danced in the wind as she looked at the stalemate. Her aged face was solemn as she frowned. She didn't know what to do. On this day, two uninvited guests came to the Demon God Mountain. They were Yi Chentian and Qin Wentian. The people of the Demon God Mountain were stunned. For the sake of the intangible body, the two sides had fought countless battles. Yi Qinghan was unwilling to let her go, and the insane sect had even sacrificed a lot of people. Now, he actually took the initiative to send her back. Was Yi Qinghan crazy? Yushin was sitting in the main hall. When she heard the report from the spy, she raised her eyebrows in disbelief. She quickly rushed out of the hall and appeared at the foot of the mountain in a flash. Seeing the intangible body in front of her, she trembled with excitement. Ha ha ha, Yi Qinghan is indeed sensible. He chose to stand on the Demon God Mountain's side. I will take care of him in the future, Yushin said excitedly. Yi Chentian was very unhappy. The Demon God Mountain and the insane sect had an irreconcilable enmity. How could they not take revenge after so many inner sect members died? But the current situation didn't allow it. Sometimes they had to make use of each other. I'm back. Why haven't the gods come to see me yet? As soon as he returned to the Demon God Mountain, Qin Wentian's aura suddenly changed. He became powerful and dignified. Yushin was a little stunned by his superior aura. It was a suppression from the soul. As the chief elder of the Demon God Mountain, the intangible body's position was higher than the other battle constitutions. Back then, the great demon god had to ask for the intangible body's opinion before doing anything. One could imagine how high the intangible body's position was in the Demon God Mountain. Welcome back, Great Elder. This old man greets the Great Elder. Yushin hesitated, then cupped her fists and bowed. Welcome back, Great Elder. This old man greets the great elder. Whoosh! The many legions stationed outside the demon god mountain knelt in unison. Qin Wentian had completely changed at this moment. His eyes looked disdainfully at everyone. With his hands behind his back, he walked step by step toward the forbidden area behind the demon god mountain. Even Yushin rarely went there. Only Mo Li could enter at will because the body of the great demon god was buried there. It was the only body of the primal chaos over god that had been preserved to this day. Yushin, send all the resources I need to the side cave of the demon god cave. For 30 years, no one is to disturb my cultivation. During these 30 years, the demon god mountain is to cultivate and recuperate. No war is to be waged at will. Qin Wentian gave the order, completely ignoring Yi Chentian. Yi Chentian frowned and so did Yushin. For a moment, they couldn't figure out what Qin Wentian wanted to do. Yoshin's status was revered, but she was only a slave of the first generation of the ethereal body. Others respectfully called her the last disciple of the ethereal body because her strength surpassed everyone. Even Mo Li had to give her face. However, she was still a slave after seeing the true ethereal body. If the ethereal body wanted to kill her, it would only take a thought. Yes, great elder. Yushin felt a little disappointed. She had fallen from a high and mighty top expert to a slave of the ethereal body. Although she was unwilling, she didn't dare to refute. Yi Chentian clenched his fists and said to himself, "Perhaps this is the true nature of the ethereal body. How can an existence that is only second to the two overgods be an unsophisticated little girl?" Yushin returned to the demonic god mountain to collect resources. Halfway there, Qin Wentian suddenly turned around and looked down at Yi Chentian. His eyes were deep and vast, making it difficult for others to look straight at him. She gently blinked her right eye, and a ray of light flashed past. However, her face was expressionless. Nobody knew what she meant. Yi Chentian couldn't help but exhale. He was really afraid that this little girl would never return. She didn't even want to talk to him. Hee, what do you think of my acting? It's quite imposing, isn't it? Idiot, I have the ethereal body. Everything in the world is nothing to me. How can I not scare this group of people? Don't worry, go back and tell Uncle that my heart won't change. I just want to use the resources of the demon god mountain to cultivate. However, I was raised by Uncle, and I will be a member of the insane sect for the rest of my life. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice and laughed foolishly. One is marked by the company one keep. Yi Qinghan loved to raise his aura to scare people. Most people could be intimidated by him, and Qin Wentian had seen this many times. Naturally, he learned how to intimidate people. Chapter 997. The shape-shifted creatures of the myriad races occupied half of the world. With the divine monster region as the base, the people of both camps had to give way to them. The 10,000 law realm was now at the center of the storm. To the west was the divine monster region, to the south was the demon god mountain, to the east was the sorcerer tribe's camp, and to the north was a bottomless abyss. Strange roars could be heard frequently. The people of the 10,000 law realm were in a state of panic. The top 5 forces of the primal chaos plane had suddenly become pitiful creatures. Their lives were no longer in their control. The only overgods left in the 10,000 law realm were Baiyelu and the old man guarding the scripture pavilion. If not for the old man overseeing the situation, Baiyelu would not have been able to suppress the situation by himself. A force with 2 overgods should be considered a very strong force, even stronger than the insane sect. However, in the face of such a situation, the people of the 10,000 law realm were on the verge of collapse. Bai Fengyun and Yi Jingxing went to the northern abyss to investigate. Cold winds howled, and the abyss was filled with eerie howls. Roar. The roar of an unknown creature came from the depths of the Earth's core, causing the entire Earth to shake. The two were shocked. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The depths of the abyss were unknown, and they could not see the other side. It was as if this was hell, a place that led to endless demons. This place was originally not so deep or terrifying. However, when the heavenly Tao returned, this place had changed and almost swallowed the 10,000 law realm. What is this place? Bai Fengyun asked with a frown. I feel a little scared. There are probably many creatures here, and they are very powerful. My 10,000 law realm is definitely no match for them. Yi Jingxing's dignified face was solemn and shocked. The fear of the unknown was always the most frightening thing. Screech! A mournful roar pierced their eardrums. A creature that looked like an eagle rushed out of the abyss. Its wings and hair were all black, and its iron-like wings cut through the rocks on the side of the abyss. Its sharp beak actually swallowed the rocks. These materials that could be used to forge emperor weapons could not withstand its bite. Whoosh! The iron eagle flapped its wings and charged toward Yi Jingxing and Bai Fengyun. Be careful! Boom! Bai Fengyun was the first to attack the iron eagle. The sword light was like lightning as it charged into the abyss. However, the iron eagle's speed was extremely fast. Its body flipped, and it dodged Bai Fengyun's attack and continued attacking the two. Yi Jingxing followed up with a sword strike, hitting the iron eagle's wing. Boom! Screech! The sword chi struck the iron eagle's wings, causing flames to burst out. However, it did not pierce through the iron eagle's wings. It only sent it flying. The iron eagle felt pain and fell into the abyss. However, a mournful roar sounded as if it was summoning its own kind. That sense of urgency seemed to have struck the hearts of the two. Not good, quickly retreat. Just as the two of them finished speaking, they saw a change in the airflow above the abyss. It surged continuously like a whirlpool. In an instant, a series of slapping sounds came from below. It was extremely terrifying. Whoosh! The two retreated to the edge of the abyss and shouted at the myriad law domain guards, "Enemy attack! Prepare to activate the barrier and attack with all your might." Whoosh! Boundless divine light shone from deep heaven city as large amounts of supreme-grade divine crystals provided energy. The entire army was mobilized in preparation to activate the defensive spell formation. Swish! As soon as the two of them entered the city gate was sealed. A long rainbow barrier enveloped 1,000 miles and constantly extended into the depths. Deep Heaven City's actions quickly attracted the attention of the major cities in the myriad law domain. They were all shocked. This level of defensive barrier was clearly only activated when facing a powerful enemy attack. This was because the resources consumed were too much. The myriad law domain could not afford such a consumption. Screech! Roar! A large number of iron eagles rushed out of the abyss. There were also some unknown creatures. Most of the creatures had wings. There were also some creatures standing on the backs of huge birds. Massive flying beasts blotted out the sky, instantly plunging Deep Heaven City into darkness. The faces of the army guarding the city wall turned purple with fright. These creatures had never appeared in this world before. They seemed to be new species, but they could also have been left behind from the chaotic era. There were far too many species back then, but they had all been wiped out by the two major factions. Now, only 1/10 of them remained. What are these things? Yi Jingxing roared in horror. Quickly activate the barrier. Adjust to the highest alert state. Everyone, don't panic. As long as we can hold on for 2 hours, the Myriad Arts returning sect will come to rescue us. Bai Fengyun was ultimately in charge of the Myriad Arts returning sect. He immediately gave the order, stabilizing the morale of the army. Boom! Whoosh! Some of the huge creatures were more than 30 meters tall. They swayed left and right as if they were not used to the outside light. They directly crashed into the city wall and were bounced back by the barrier. Their wails and roars stimulated the ferocious nature of these ferocious creatures. Boom, boom, boom. The earth trembled as more and more birds appeared. They seemed to have no intelligence, but their lethality was definitely not inferior to a lower god shrine. There were also quite a few that were equivalent to a middle god shrine. The key was that there were too many of them. The myriad arts returning sect definitely could not outlast these creatures. Screech! A large number of iron eagles swept across the sky, wanting to kill their way into the city. However, they were blocked by the barrier. They furiously rammed into the barrier, and some of the iron eagles were directly smashed into pieces. Half the sky was dyed red with blood. Fortunately, the north of the myriad arts returning sect was the abyss, while the east was the territory of the powerful sorcerer tribe. Their barrier was the first to activate, directly pouring into the clouds and reducing the myriad arts returning sect's consumption. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yelu and the Grand Elder of the Gui sect were the first to arrive at Deep Heaven City. When they saw the black mass outside the city, their faces changed drastically. These are the ferocious beasts left behind from the chaotic era. I didn't expect there to be so many of them. After all these years of cultivation, their numbers have probably reached a point of despair. Their base camp must be below. We have to push them back. The Grand Elder's old face was filled with shock and seriousness. He knew that this was not something the Gui sect could handle alone. There are so many of them. How can we push them back? Grandmaster, are we going to be wiped out just like that? Yelu looked at the ferocious beasts dispiritedly and felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. Boom boom boom. A large number of ferocious beasts came one after another. The ones that came out later were stronger and stronger. Some of the ferocious beasts were already close to the high god realm. They are still not used to the light. We still have a chance. Go and inform the people from the two camps to help. Find the Beast Tamer tribe and ask the Giant Dragon tribe for help. The Grand Elder said in a deep voice. Yelu turned to look at Fengyun and said in a hoarse voice, Go and ask for help as the sect master of the Gui sect. Without hesitation, Fengyun left Deep Heaven City through the realm gate and appeared outside the Sky Demon region. He hoped that the Giant Dragon tribe could lend a helping hand and push the ferocious beasts back. However, he was rejected by the Sky Demon region's experts without hesitation. They were all foreign races. Who would help the human race? Fengyun's face turned ugly. If the Giant Dragon tribe rejected him, he could only go to the Sorcerer tribe's camp. However, he did not expect the Sorcerer tribe to reject him without even thinking about it. They even hoped to use the abyssal creatures to destroy the myriad arts returning sect and remove a thorn in their side. Chapter 998. The 10,000 arts return to origin sect was a thorn in the side of the sorcerer race. They couldn't pull it out, nor did they dare to pull it out. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could the sorcerer race let it go? Letting both the abyssal creatures and the 10,000 arts return to origin sect suffer was the best choice. In the end, they would come out to clean up the mess and gain a good reputation. The second sorcerer god didn't care about these worldly matters at all. He only wanted to recover his strength. Fengyun returned without success and could only look at the demon god mountain. However, the outcome was obvious. At this time, everyone wanted to rest and recuperate. No one wanted to make a big fuss. As expected, Fengyun was expelled from the demon god mountain without even seeing Yushin. The beast tamer lineage had disappeared for tens of millions of years. Now, the beast tamers in the outside world could only tame some low-level beasts at most. Against the remnant race of chaos, they would be devoured without leaving behind a corpse before they could even get close. Fengyun was in despair. He ran to more than 10 powerful factions and was rejected. No one wanted to provoke such a thing. The entire chaotic universe was in a state of high tension. Humans seemed to have returned to the chaotic era. It was difficult to survive. Everyone was fighting for resources. The original Master God was beaten back to his original form and became a mid-level god. He had to run around looking for resources with his tail between his legs. Bai Fengyun ran around the major regions and tried to persuade them, but he failed. Half a month had passed. The 10,000 arts returned to Origin sect was almost exhausted. The Grand Elder personally took action and wasted his life force to repel the crazy attacks of the beasts. However, these beasts wanted to leave the abyss and reappear in the universe. They couldn't retreat. The unifying sect used a drop of supreme godly power to destroy the heavens and the earth, destroying countless ferocious birds and ferocious beasts. However, this angered a terrifying existence in the depths of the underworld. A Kuei dragon charged out from the underworld, its massive tail shaking the clouds and almost uprooting Deep Heaven City. Roar! The Kueilong's body stretched for thousands of miles above the abyss. Its huge eyes were like the scorching sun. It was extremely terrifying. The roar of 10,000 beasts suppressed the 10,000 law realm to the point of despair. The old man was old and a hero past his prime. He couldn't afford to expend so much energy like this. Although he had managed to unleash a drop of supreme godly power, it had consumed nearly half of his life force. He could die at any moment. Now that he had retreated into the city, he couldn't even stand properly. However, no reinforcements from the two great factions had arrived. Bai Fengyun was extremely anxious. He had approached all the forces that could influence the outcome of the battle, but they were all rejected. At this moment, he could only place his last hope on the insane sect, hoping that Yi Qinghan would help. Bai Fengyun came to the Six Paths domain and used the domain gate to enter the Azura domain. At the same time, he begged the Azura king to help him. Naturally, Grand Monarch Shura couldn't make the decision on behalf of Yi Qinghan, so he directly refused. However, he allowed Bai Fengyun to enter the Endless Star system. On Owl Warstar, Yi Qinghan was still cultivating the law of darkness boundary steel when he was awakened by Gu Qingyu. He opened his eyes slightly and his body swayed slightly, causing dust to rise. It was unknown how long he had been in seclusion. "What's wrong?" Yi Qinghan looked at Gu Qingyu's serious expression and asked softly. The Central Region Shrine sent a message saying that Bai Xiaosheng's elder brother, Bai Fengyun of the 10,000 Arts returned to Origin sect wants to see you. I heard that he's here to ask for help. Gu Qingyu said in a deep voice. What help? Did the two factions attack the 10,000 Law domain? Yi Qinghan asked with a frown. No, an abyss appeared inexplicably in the north of the 10,000 Law domain. A large number of xenogeneic races of the Chaos race poured out of it. The 10,000 Law domain couldn't withstand it and sought help from many factions, but they were all rejected. They could only come to the insane sect for help. Gu Qingyu seemed unwilling to intervene in this matter. It was too dangerous and would put the insane sect in danger. Yi Qinghan got up, thought for a moment and nodded. The insane sect won't intervene in this matter, but I will. Qingyu, take the inner sect and guard the Endless Star system. If anything happens, immediately notify me. You don't have divine power now. It's too dangerous to participate in such a war. Gu Qingyu was very dissatisfied and wanted to stop Yi Qinghan's action. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and said sadly, I have to pay back what I owe. I can't just watch the 10,000 Law domain get swallowed up by the ominous beasts and not save them. If I die one day, how can I face Bai Xiaosheng? The experts of the insane sect had been in closed-door cultivation for the past few days. When they learned that Yi Qinghan was going to come out of seclusion to fight again, they all came out to dissuade him. They didn't want him to intervene in the war between the 10,000 Law domain and the abyssal creatures. After all, the 10,000 Law domain was too far away from here and had no direct conflict of interest with the insane sect. Yi Qinghan's attitude was firm and unmoved. He said indifferently, there are some things that must be done. Besides, I believe in karma. Since the abyssal creatures appeared, there must be a reason. If I go, there will be consequences. Now that the known divine medicines are useless to my martial Tao origin, there may be a chance of survival. You can stay in the endless star system with peace of mind. No matter whether I live or die, the insane sect must not disband. In the current situation, if the insane sect disbands, it will certainly become the slaves of the two factions. I'll go with you. Emperor Yi firmly grabbed Yi Qinghan's hand, unwilling to let him take the risk alone. I also want to go and have some fun. Now that my realm has been reduced, I want to find a chance to rise back up. Li Feng smiled evilly and drew his sword, ready to fight. Since you want to go, how can we hide behind you? Then let's go together. Gu Qingyu sighed and said. Yes, let's go together. Di Longtian and the others agreed, full of fighting spirit. Yi Qinghan shook his head and rejected everyone's decision. He said solemnly, nothing can happen to the endless star system. You must stay. As for my son, he can come with me. I don't have the authority to make decisions for Brother Li Feng. It's good that he wants to go and gain experience. We can take care of each other and he shouldn't lose his life. Now that order had been restored, no one could guarantee that the endless star system would not be attacked. The insane sect could only stay in the insane sect. At this time, the celestial battle body Dong Qin was somewhat excited. She loved unknown places because unknown places represented unknown divine treasures. How could a place with treasures not have a celestial battle body? You don't have the authority to make decisions for me. I'm not from the insane sect. I want to go to the abyss and have a look. Dong Qin said excitedly. Zixin shrugged. Recently, she had been inseparable from Dong Qin and Emperor Yi. Her desire to fight was getting stronger and stronger, and she had long forgotten the teachings of her ancestors. Moreover, she needed Dong Qin to help her become a supreme god, so she had to follow Dong Qin. Yi Qinghan had no choice but to agree to take them. Using a small space gate, Yi Qinghan led the group to the Central Region's shrine. Bai Fengyun was restless inside the shrine, not knowing if Yi Qinghan would meet him or if he would be willing to help the Infinite Law Realm. After all, the Infinite Law Realm had not been polite to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan and the others entered the shrine in a line. They stared at Bai Fengyun and said indifferently, Brother Bai, take me to the Infinite Law Realm. Bai Fengyun asked excitedly, Brother Yi, are you willing to help the Infinite Law Realm? Yi Qinghan was expressionless. He said hoarsely, I'm not helping the Infinite Law Realm. I'm only helping Shaoxing. I have no feelings for the Infinite Law Realm. Chapter 999. Yi Qinghan's expression was extremely cold. Indeed, he had no ties with the 10,000 Laws realm or its inhabitant. He only had ties with Bai Shaoxing. Bai Fengyun sighed. He knew that his father had made a grave mistake back then. He did not have much hope in coming here this time. Bai Yelu must have felt the same way. He would never believe that Yi Qinghan would lead people to save the 10,000 Laws realm while the other forces would just stand by and watch. Yi Qinghan had nothing to say. He only led them to the Azura territory and entered the Six Paths territory before moving on to the 10,000 Laws realm. As soon as they entered the 10,000 Laws realm, they could feel the terror and despair of the inhabitants. All Emperor-level and above powerhouses gathered in the city north of the unifying sect, ready to protect the 10,000 Laws realm with their lives. The inhabitants of the 10,000 Laws realm were of one mind. After all, people in various regions of the Chaos Plane were rather xenophobic. Even if they chose to migrate, there was no good place for them to go. Moreover, their ancestral land was here, and they were unwilling to leave. Bai Fengyun led the group and rushed toward Deep Heaven City. Deep Heaven City was like hell. Corpses and bones littered the ground. The ferocious beasts' frenzied attacks had killed many powerhouses. The army continued to advance, and there were countless casualties. Kuelong and the Supreme Elder fought 3 consecutive devastating battles. The aftershocks killed countless ferocious beasts, but neither side won. Many powerhouses in Deep Heaven City died as well. Bai Yelu also went out of the city to fight. He wanted to slow down the ferocious beasts' attacks. There were more and more abyssal creatures, and they grew stronger and stronger. They slowly adapted to the light outside, and their combat strength increased. These creatures' bodies were very strong, comparable to divine weapons. Even a wing could kill. Although Lord weapons could cut open their bodies, they could not destroy all their vitality. Bodies of steel, true bodies of steel. Apart from lords, even half-step lords would feel despair. In a one-on-one battle, these ferocious beasts would win. Moreover, they would win in a second. These were creatures from the Chaos Era. Compared to the ferocious beasts of today, it was like a tiger meeting a weak cat. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Yi Qinghan and the others entered Deep Heaven City from the city behind. They could not help frowning when they saw the blood flowing everywhere and the piles of bones. It's Yi Qinghan. He's here to help us. We're saved. Someone recognized Yi Qinghan and immediately shouted excitedly. Many people in the 10,000 Law Domain knew about Yi Qinghan. The battle with the 4 battle constitutions took place outside the 10,000 Law Domain. His terrifying cultivation was simply outrageous. He alone could resist 4 battle constitutions, including the Railing Leopard and the Holy Sovereign King. He was not only strong, but he also gave the people of the 10,000 Law Domain hope. However, what everyone didn't know was that Yi Qinghan's cultivation was much weaker than before. Without divine power, no matter how strong he was, it would be difficult for him to exert the combat power of a truth finder. Bai Yelu was exhausted. He had just returned from outside the city when he saw Yi Qinghan leading Emperor Yi and the others. His expression changed slightly. He didn't expect that the people from the 2 camps and the major forces that had friendly relations with the 10,000 Law Domain would not come. The people who came were his enemies. The Great Elder's hair was white, and he was covered in wounds. His body had almost been pierced through by the Kuelong, and he had little vitality left. After this battle, the Great Elder would definitely die. The Great Elder looked at Yi Qinghan and sighed. This old man didn't misjudge you. You came in the end. Yi Qinghan bowed slightly and said respectfully, "Thank you, Senior, for bestowing me with your techniques back then. You didn't expose my identity or attack me, which gave me a chance to live. Sigh, this old man couldn't save you back then, nor could I fight against the Demon God Mountain. It's just that Shaoxing, that child, suffered." The Great Elder trembled slightly and looked like he would collapse at any moment. He was hanging on by his last breath, relying on his will to stand firm. If he fell, the 10,000 Law Domain would fall as well. This junior understands and appreciates Senior's efforts. This time, I only attacked for Shaoxing and nothing else. Senior, please don't take it to heart. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and took the lead to climb up the city wall. He could not help frowning when he saw the black mass in front of him. There were just too many creatures. In addition, the chaos creature Kuelong was the sworn enemy of the Chaos Dragon. Although it was no match for the Chaos Dragon, it was very difficult to deal with. Li Feng followed suit. Looking at so many ferocious beasts and birds, he felt like he had no idea where to start. These creatures are full of treasures. There's an origin in their minds. It's called the Chaos Origin during the Chaos Era. It's the world's most primordial god item, but it's very rare. If you can capture a few million half-step Lord-level ferocious beasts alive and plunder their origins, you might be able to replace your martial Dao origin with their Chaos Origin, Dong Qin said with certainty. There were a few million half-step Lord-level abyssal creatures. Forget about capturing them alive. Even if Yi Qinghan were to just stand there and let him attack them, he would not be able to kill them even if he died of exhaustion. Yi Qinghan's fingertips trembled. He was constantly thinking about restoring his martial Tao origin and regaining control of the situation. However, this was too difficult, and there was no guarantee that he would succeed. There should be quite a lot of chaos origin in this Kuelong's body. If you plunder its origin and add the chaos origin of hundreds of thousands of ferocious beasts, you should be able to replace your martial Tao origin. Or perhaps there's chaos origin in the depths of the abyss as well. However, that thing is illusory. It's almost unrealistic to try and condense it into a ball, Dong Qin reminded him truthfully. Every hope was minuscule, so minuscule that it was negligible. However, having hope was better than having no hope at all. It was almost unrealistic to try and forge a chaos Tao body with just one's physical body alone. Yi Qinghan had not managed to comprehend the dark precept boundary stone even though he had been cultivating it day and night for the past few years. It was not hard to imagine that there were many more great Tao rule profundities that were even more difficult to understand. If he wanted to forge a Chaos Tao Body 9, he would need tens of millions of years. How could the people from both camps possibly give him such a long time? Yi Qinghan looked at Li Feng, Emperor Yi, and the others and asked seriously, "Do we have any hope of suppressing the Kuelong if we join forces?" Li Feng shrugged and looked at the Kuelong's huge body. Half of it was still stuck in the abyss. This creature could lie there and let him hit it, but it would be difficult to damage its origin. Impossible. This thing is too big. My strength can only be considered the lowest level of the Chaos Giant gods. It's very difficult to compare with a true Chaos Giant god like this. Even if we join forces, we can at most maintain a stalemate with it. It will be very difficult to suppress it. Emperor Yi was helpless. Although he wanted to help Yi Qinghan restore his origin, he knew that there were some things that he could not do. Bai Yelu gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, "Count me in as well. It was my fault back then. I am willing to use my life in exchange for your martial Tao origin. Even if you join forces, it won't work. This thing is too strong. My otherworldly eye's talent can't restrain it. Moreover, it has so many remnants of chaos around it. Whether we can suppress it or not is a problem," Zixian said very pertinently. Yi Qinghan clenched his fist. He wanted to use Berserk, but unfortunately there was nothing he could do. "Open the city gates." "I want to try," Yi Qinghan said firmly. Chapter 1000. Open the city gate, I want to try. Yi Qinghan didn't want to give up even if there was only a sliver of hope in order to restore his martial arts origin. "I can still fight." The Supreme Elder trembled slightly and stood up from his chair, wanting to contribute his last bit of strength. Yi Qinghan shook his head. The old man's life had come to an end. At most, he could withstand one more blow before completely disintegrating. If he didn't act now, he could still maintain his life for 2 or 3 years. There was no need to waste any more time. "Senior, rest at ease. Leave it to us," Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. In front of the city gate, divine light shot thousands of miles into the sky. Even the iron eagles couldn't cross this heavenly barrier. The green light in the eyes of the black ferocious beasts was soul-stirring. They seemed to have no intelligence, but in fact, they were more scheming than the ferocious beasts in the outside world. They attacked in batches, not giving the experts of the Wanyuan domain a chance to rest. Boom, boom, boom. The divine light fluctuated. The attack of the Lost Clan was right in front of them. The iron eagle's sharp claws slashed across the boundary. Cracks appeared on the boundary, but they quickly healed. Yi Qinghan and the others returned to the city gate and ordered people to open it. Countless powerful ferocious beasts were blocking the city gate. When they saw the city gate open, they immediately roared and swarmed in. However, they were directly smashed away by a wave of qi and screamed miserably. Roar! Roar! The terrifying qi was even more destructive than sovereign power. Yi Qinghan punched out with both fists, and the 2 ferocious beasts at the front were directly smashed into powder by the fist force. They turned into nothingness and scattered, dyeing the city gate red. Hum hum hum, swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sword light turned into a meat grinder, instantly destroying dozens of ferocious beasts. Even the wings of the iron eagles were shredded. Yi Qinghan took the starry frenzy blade from Emperor Ye's hands and stood in front of him with Li Feng, one on the left and one on the right. They swept through their enemies with a sweeping stance and forcefully repelled the attacks of the ferocious beasts. It was only when they came face to face that they realized these ferocious beasts were exuding chaos auras. They were far, far more powerful than the so-called half-step Lord-level and Lord-level ferocious beasts in the outside world. Most of the ferocious beasts were unknown to them. They had extraordinary talents and could swallow clouds, spit out fog, fire, and water. Some of the ferocious beasts could even control wind speed and transform them into wind blade. The sharpness of these wind blades was no less than that of half-step Lord-level weapons. All sorts of strange-looking creatures filled the skies. The massive Kuelong twisted its body, trying to swallow the powerhouses with vigorous vitality in front of it. The saliva in its mouth was extremely corrosive. When it dripped onto the mountain rocks, the rocks were instantly reduced to fine powder. White smoke rose from them, sending chills down one's spine. The Kuelong had horns. It could swallow the heavens above and suck in the stars below. When it cultivated to its peak, its body could wrap around a star. Crushing a star would be as easy as waving its hand. The Kuelong in front of them had clearly not cultivated to that level. It was at most a beginner-level Kuelong, which was equivalent to a maturing Kuelong. Roar. The Kuelong roared furiously, its aura soaring into the stars. Its smell was nauseating and nauseating, making one dizzy. Roar. Emperor Yi mobilized his divine power. Chaos Dragon blood roared, and he transformed into a dragon and charged into the sky. His massive body was almost comparable to the Kuelong, covering the sky and the sun. Roar. The Chaos Dragon let out a long roar. Its terrifying aura sent countless ferocious birds and beasts flying. The primordial creatures were the most sensitive to the aura of a paramount god. Countless ferocious birds fell from the sky, howling in agony. They did not have the courage to resist at all. Swoosh. Swoosh. Li Feng stood on the left, Zixian on the right, Bai Yelu on the lower jaw of the Chaos Dragon. Yi Qinghan tapped the ground with the tip of his toes, spreading his wings and soaring into the clouds. He stood on the Chaos Dragon's head, his berserk blade shattering the astral wind. His battle robe was biting cold, and his aura was soaring into the sky. The Kuelong was shocked. It did not expect a Chaos Dragon to be here. During the Chaos Era, the Kuelong ancestors had fought with the Chaos Dragon countless times. However, they had never won. Although it was not afraid of the Chaos Dragon that Emperor Yi had transformed into, it did not dare to fight with the four powerhouses beside her. Roar. The Kuelong roared in anger. It wanted to unleash its aura and command the countless vestigial tribe experts to attack. However, a paramount god was a paramount god. Now that Emperor Ye's aura was suppressing it, it did not dare to move. It crawled on the ground and howled in agony as it retreated into the abyss. Swoosh. Swoosh. The Iron Eagle took the lead and rushed down into the abyss at an extremely fast speed. Kill! Yi Qinghan growled. He gave up on his wings and stepped on the Chaos Dragon's head. His figure was like a sword rainbow as he attacked one of the Kuelong's eyes. His berserk blade directly cut through the universe and appeared in front of the Kuelong in an instant. Roar. The Kuelong closed its eyes and lowered its head to face Yi Qinghan. Its long horn was a divine weapon, and its skin was a defensive armor. This kind of creature that survived by eating chaos rock was difficult to break apart except for its eyes, which were its fatal weakness. Roar. Swoosh. Swoosh. The other three powerhouses attacked the Kuelong one after another, hoping to give Emperor Yi a chance to suppress the Kuelong. Boom. Yi Qinghan spread his wings in front of the Kuelong. He tilted his body, dodging the Kuelong's long horn, and slashed his blade on the Kuelong's mountain-like head. Sparks flew everywhere, and the Kuelong's body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. Its body, which was thousands of miles away, could not help but sink. It roared in pain and grimaced. Its body suddenly rushed upward, wanting to swallow Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan used the recoil to retreat upward. His wings broke the sky, and he was just a hair's breadth away from being swallowed by the Kuelong. Boom! Emperor Yi swung his giant dragon tail, smashing thousands of miles of the void from the primordial era and slamming it into the Kuelong's waist in the abyss. The entire abyss trembled, and with a loud bang, the Kuelong lost control of its body and fell. Its body was smashed by Emperor Yi into a rock on the side of the abyss, and Deep Heaven City almost collapsed. Kill! The 5 powerhouses rushed toward the abyss in a frenzy, wanting to suppress the Kuelong. The Kuelong was furious and wanted to counterattack. However, Emperor Yi was on high ground, and with the cooperation of the 4 powerhouses, it was unable to stand firm and was constantly smashed into the abyss. Roar! Roar! The Kuelong swung its giant tail crazily, wanting to smash the Chaos Dragon away. Emperor Yi was under the greatest pressure. He would not be able to withstand even a single collision with the Kuelong's monstrous body. Now, he could only take the initiative to attack. Boom! The Chaos Dragon and the Kuelong swung their tails and attacked each other while dodging. However, their speed was so fast that it was impossible to dodge. In the end, they clashed, and the shockwaves caused the abyss outside Deep Heaven City to collapse. The giant Chaos Dragon lost control of its body and smashed into a rock on the side. However, the Kuelong did not have it easy either. With its peerless body, it instantly fell 10,000 meters, but it still did not touch the bottom of the abyss. No one knew how deep this abyss was. The unknown was the most frightening. No one knew whether or not a terrifying creature would suddenly appear from the depths where one couldn't even see one's own fingers. Xiao xiao xiao! Yi Qinghan swung his blade, sweeping away thousands of enemies. With the help of his giant tail, the star saber could cut through iron like mud. In addition to his powerful body, the Kuelong did not dare to face Yi Qinghan head-on because its defense could be cut open. The Azura soul-chasing blade technique and the Berserk blade technique were the most basic blade techniques. Yi Qinghan switched to whatever technique he wanted without any hesitation. Chapter 1001. Boom! 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 The 5 of them dove into the abyss from above. Sword and blade lights destroyed one side of the cliff, causing sparks to fly everywhere. The Kuelong was forced to dive deeper into the abyss. It roared furiously and occasionally spat out flames, illuminating the abyss. The fear of the abyss made the 5 experts' hair stand on end. They felt that there were even more powerful and ferocious creatures coming out from the depths. Roar! The dragon circled in the air and smashed its tail to extinguish the flames. The remaining flames mysteriously disappeared when they got close to Yi Qinghan, causing no damage. Roar! Li Feng's sword pierced through the clouds, illuminating the pitch-black space. One could not see the other side or the bottom. There was not a single ray of light in the depth. It was unknown how the vestigial tribe survived. The aura of chaos permeated the air, thick like rolling black clouds. Air currents surged, and various profound laws were very clear. It was definitely the best place to cultivate. No wonder these vestigial tribe mutants were so much stronger than those outside. If not for the Chaos Dragon's aura suppressing them, today would have been a battle to the death. Roar! The Kuelong was furious. It did not expect to be beaten back by a group of ants. Yi Qinghan had left several bloody wounds on its tough body. At that moment it hated Yi Qinghan to the bone. It began to resist the attacks of the others. It bared its fangs and attacked Yi Qinghan fiercely. Boom! The energy was like a raging wave crashing against the shore. The god-slaying eagle's wings could not withstand such an attack and almost broke. In a panic, Yi Qinghan retracted his wings and began to dive toward the cliff. Bang! Whoosh! The star saber stabbed into the cliff and found that the cliff was as hard as a half-step Lord-tier weapon. If not for the star saber's sharpness, it would not have been able to pierce into the iron cliff. These chaos rocks had existed for countless years and had accumulated their essence over the years. They were definitely the best materials to forge Lord-tier weapons. Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed a piece of the cliff. He hung in the abyss, breathing rapidly. He did not dare to use too much strength. If he fell, no matter how strong his body was, he would not be able to escape death. Boom! Kuei-long was in great pain from the powerful attacks of Bai Yelu and the others. His body was also slammed into the rock wall. He was enraged. He curled up his huge tail and smashed it towards Yi Qinghan. The huge tail blocked all three directions, and the pressure caused Yi Qinghan's facial muscles to twist. "Be careful!" Everyone was shocked. Emperor Yi roared in despair. He swung his Chaos Dragon true body and slammed it at Kuei-long's head. Kuei-long seemed to be determined to kill Yi Qinghan. Even though he knew that Emperor Ye's attack would threaten his life, he was still unwilling to compromise. He swung his huge tail at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He spread his wings again and began to dive into the abyss. He wanted to avoid this attack, but Kuei-long's attack range was too wide and its destructive power was too strong. His wings were swept by the wind. The moment they came into contact with Kuei-long's huge tail, his wings were broken. Without divine power, he could not fly. Without the wings of the god-slaying eagle, Yi Qinghan's body was like a kite with its string cut. Boom! Emperor Ye's attack landed squarely on Kuei-long's head, causing the cliff to collapse. Kuei-long's head was almost smashed into meat paste. His shrill roar filled the sky as his body began to fall rapidly. Whoosh! Zixian swooped down at full speed, wanting to help Yi Qinghan. Bai Yelu and Li Feng also rushed down at the same time, wanting to stop the tragedy from happening. However, Yi Qinghan was falling too fast. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. The dark abyss chaotic aura was too dense. The two of them quickly lost their senses and could no longer catch sight of Yi Qinghan. Suddenly, the air below them surged. A wave of air pushed the three of them upwards. Yi Qinghan's body was also pushed upwards by the air current, but he was leaning towards the cliff. Boom! Yi Qinghan's body slammed into the cliff. He suddenly felt dizzy and his mind went blank. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. He saw the head of a giant Kuei-long poking out from the depth. Its fangs were like ancient trees, and its head was comparable to a mountain. It was even more ferocious than the serpent god. The Kuei-long from before paled in comparison. Whoosh! Roar! The giant Kuei-long rushed past Yi Qinghan. The air current rotated and pushed him down again. Boom! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan reacted quickly. He stabbed the star saber into the cliff, but it still could not stop him from sinking. The friction between the cliff and the frenzied saber lit up the depths of the abyss. He quickly rushed down tens of thousands of meters. Retreat! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Li Feng followed the air current and grabbed Bai Yelu, who was beside him, and rushed towards the top of the abyss. Zixian saw that Emperor Yi was frozen in place. His huge body could not be moved at all. He immediately shouted, "Change back to your original form and escape." Emperor Ye's body trembled. He looked at the giant Kuei-long rushing up from below and quickly changed back to his original form. He followed Zixian to the top of the universe. The giant Kuei-long roared and spat out a mouthful of black flames. It crazily crushed space and time as it rushed towards the four. However, its original form did not chase after them. Instead, it held the small Kuei-long's tail in its mouth and quickly dived down. The air current in the entire abyss was rolling up and down. The air current on Yi Qinghan's side just happened to be pressing down, causing him to be unable to stabilize his body. He could only fall madly. Yi Qinghan's body tensed up as he sensed the aura of death. However, he did not panic in the face of danger. He simply pulled out his frenzied blade and allowed his body to fall. His mind was racing as he thought of a way to stabilize his body when he reached the bottom, even if it meant that he would be seriously injured. After falling for an unknown period of time, the sound of metal chains rattling could be heard. Yi Qinghan did not panic. He took a moment to look to his right and discovered that hundreds of thick metal chains were stretched vertically upwards. They were stretched so tight that they were about to break. However, they quickly fell downward. This Kuelong is chained by divine metal chains. Yi Qinghan quickly reacted. He could not help but use the strength in his body to quickly rush towards the rock wall. With a twist of his toes, his body shot towards the hundreds of thick metal chains like an arrow. Boom! Boom! Bang! Yi Qinghan borrowed the force of the impact and constantly shuttled through the metal chains to reduce the force of his fall. Suddenly there was light below. However, before he could react, he directly crashed into the rock below. His body felt like it was about to fall apart. Ah! Yi Qinghan did not dare to make a sound. His face was distorted as he rolled hundreds of times on the ground. Finally, he crashed heavily into a huge rock in the canyon. Only then did he manage to reduce the force of his fall. Boom! The huge rock collapsed and directly submerged Yi Qinghan's body, burying him alive. Boom! Hundreds of metal chains carrying the huge Kuelong fell to the ground. Its huge body was comparable to a mountain range. The underground world below the abyss was another world. However, the light was extremely dim. There were also twinkling stars that turned into a chessboard. Countless ferocious birds and vestigial beasts rushed into the distance. The vast underground world was comparable to the largest region in the outside world. Not far from the exit of the abyss, there was another huge abyss. The Kuelong's metal chains extended from that abyss. The Kuelong twisted its body and rushed into the abyss with the little Kuelong. It quickly disappeared without a trace. Fortunately, it did not discover Yi Qinghan, who was submerged in the rocks. Chapter 1002. Time flew by quickly. Birds and beasts roamed the mountain path, killing each other ferociously. However, they ignored Yi Qinghan, who was lying in a pile of rocks. In the pitch-black night, one couldn't even see one's fingers. Only a few stars could be seen. The ancient trees were swaying, and the edges of the mountains were blurry. However, the abyss world wasn't quiet. Roars and screams could be heard from time to time, causing one's hair to stand on end. Every bone in Yi Qinghan's body showed signs of cracking. The aura of chaos was dense, and pure earth elements rushed into his body to heal his injuries. Although he didn't have the source of martial arts, his source body still existed. He couldn't control the various sources, but they would automatically heal him. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Yi Qinghan's fingertips moved slightly. He twisted his body, causing the rocks above him to fall off. He crawled out of the pile of rocks with difficulty, his face pale. Holding the star saber, he carefully stepped out of the pile of rocks and looked up at the starry sky. He was shocked and muttered to himself, "Where is this? Didn't I fall into the abyss? Why is there a starry sky here?" Yi Qinghan was very confused. He felt the surging aura of chaos. This place was more like the chaotic era or the beginning of chaos. The great Tao was stable, and the rocks here were much harder than those in the outside world. He followed the stone wall to the exit of the abyss. He found that the spatial laws here were somewhat chaotic and difficult to understand. The spatial laws he had comprehended before were completely different from the laws here. Even if he had divine power now, he might not be able to fly up unless he grew a pair of wings. The stone wall didn't touch the ground, at least not near the entrance. It was suspended in the air with a gap of at least 30 meters. Many stone cones hung upside down, stained with blood, and many dried bones below. It was unknown how many creatures had died to gather so many dried bones. After searching for a long time, he finally found the whereabouts of the Kuelong. It was still in the abyss below the abyss. It was so deep that he couldn't see the bottom. The traces of the chains were clearly visible. A terrifying sense of danger enveloped Yi Qinghan, making him want to retreat. Since he could not climb to the sky, he had to leave this area immediately. Otherwise, if the Kuelong appeared again, he would not be able to survive even if he had 10 lives. Yi Qinghan grabbed his saber and turned to leave. He quickly rushed into the depths of the forest. Facing the vicious creatures in the depths of the forest was 1,000 times better than facing the Kuelong. Taking advantage of the night, Yi Qinghan quickly disappeared into the abyss world. He scuttled along the mountain range like an agile monkey. The vast abyss world was boundless, and sound traveled very slowly. Even the roars of powerful ferocious beasts could hardly travel more than 3 miles. Without godly power, he could not use his interspatial ring. He could not even use the most basic origins of the 5 elements. Yi Qinghan could only rely on his intellect and physical body to survive. As he traveled deeper into the mountain range, he discovered many spiritual herbs. Without the support of godly power, Yi Qinghan had been starving for several days. He was very tired. He grabbed the spiritual herbs and stuffed them into his mouth to chew. The spiritual herbs had survived for countless years and contained boundless primal chaos energy. Once they entered his body, they turned into energy that filled his limbs and bones, replenishing his qi and blood. The exhausted Yi Qinghan finally caught his breath. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and continued to run madly in search of divine herbs to store. After all, this place was too dangerous. No one knew what kind of things they would encounter in the next moment. Once they fought to the death and had no energy left, they could forget about escaping. Huff, huff, huff. Yi Qinghan's breathing became heavier and heavier. He was somewhat unable to adapt to the dense primal chaos energy. If his martial origins were still present, this place would definitely be a holy land for cultivation. Unfortunately, it was simply torture for the current him. The divine bird was not locked in his sea of consciousness and could not come out. Otherwise, with it around, he would definitely be able to obtain many valuable treasures. Moreover, they would all be of the primal chaos grade. This won't do. I have to think of a way to release the divine bird and help me find the origin of primal chaos to replace my martial origins. Yi Qinghan thought to himself. He kept dodging between the mountains, avoiding the ferocious beasts and ferocious birds. He found a decent valley that actually had a gurgling stream, tall mountains, and waterfalls. The lush earth was covered in spiritual herbs. The herbivores fled madly when they saw him. Yi Qinghan decided to take over the Kuelong's nest. This place was already very far away from the Kuelong's nest, so he used the frenzied saber to carve out a cave here. He hid all the divine herbs he had found here and started to live the life of a savage. The next morning, the light here was still dim, but it was much better than at night. He could no longer see his fingers if he stretched out his hand. Ferocious beasts could be seen passing through the valley from time to time. Most of them were extraordinarily talented primal chaos remnant races. There were also some creatures that were born later on as hybrid. However, their strength was not bad. Yi Qinghan did not dare to attack forcefully. If his identity was exposed here, there would probably be nothing left of him. His blood and qi would definitely be a great supplement for these ferocious beasts. Boom, boom, boom. A creature the size of a small mountain walked in from outside the valley. It had horns on its head and looked a bit like a bull. However, its body was huge and its limbs were powerful. Every step it took caused the valley to shake. Yi Qinghan hid in the cave and peeped. The frenzied blade in his hand trembled slightly but was suppressed by him. What a huge creature! Just how big is this abyss world? Yi Qinghan was shocked. The creatures here were completely different from those outside. He felt as if he had returned to the primal chaos era. Roar! All of a sudden, an angry roar came from afar. Following that, more than 10 purple lightning bolts shot through the air and attacked the huge bull creature. Yi Qinghan looked up and was immediately enraged. This was because he saw more than 10 railing leopard. Moreover, they were more than 10 times stronger than the railing leopard in the divine demon region. They were also several times larger. One of them could crush him to death. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to seal the stone door, leaving only a small gap for him to peek outside. Roar! Whoosh! 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 The valley was surrounded by lightning. More than 10 railing leopards surrounded them from all directions. Bolts of lightning shot out from their mouth. They were extremely sharp and destructive. They directly penetrated into the bull creature's body. The bull creature cried out in pain as its flesh and blood exploded. Its huge body was instantly turned into a bloody mess. Moo! The bull creature could not withstand the purple lightning. It collapsed onto the ground and twitched. It allowed the railing leopard to gnaw on its flesh. The railing leopard was actually a social creature. There were at least 12 of them surrounding its huge body. Its sharp teeth easily pierced through the bull's skin. The bull creature could only howl in pain as its blood flowed like a river. Yi Qinghan did not even dare to breathe loudly. He did not even dare to leave that small gap. He completely sealed it and leaned against the stone door, waiting for the railing leopard to leave. The railing leopard quickly gnawed the bull creature into a skeleton. However, its head was still intact. After the railing leopard had its fill, it wagged its tail and wandered around the valley for a while before leaving. The powerful aura of the railing leopard deterred other creatures from approaching. The valley was deathly silent. After not hearing anything for a long time, Yi Qinghan secretly opened the stone door. He found a mountain-like skeleton lying in the valley. The railing leopard was nowhere to be found. The valley was dyed red. It quickly flowed into the small river and was constantly neutralized. The river water was clear again. Yi Qinghan walked out of the cave with his saber. Looking at the intact bullhead, he suddenly remembered Dong Qin's words. These remnants of chaos have some chaos origin in their heads. Many a little makes a mickle. Perhaps they can replace the martial arts origin. Chapter 1003. Yi Qinghan was very curious. He walked towards the skull with his saber and cut open the skull. He found a white crystal inside. It should be a demon core of a demon, equivalent to a human's godhead. He continued searching but did not find the chaos origins. He could not help but carefully examine the demon core crystal. Could the chaos origins be inside the demon core? Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. The demon core was extremely hard and almost indestructible. The railing leopard was unwilling to gnaw on it and only absorbed the power of blood, flesh, and blood. The demon core trembled as it tried to break free from Yi Qinghan's restraint. It turned out that the ox creature's soul was not dead, but it did not have much consciousness. Yi Qinghan did not understand the language of the forgotten races of chaos and could not communicate with it using his mental strength. He did not know what the ox creature was saying, but he was unwilling to let it go. Can you understand what I'm saying? If you can, shake my hand 3 times. Yi Qinghan returned to the cave, sealed the stone door, and spread his hand flat, allowing the demon core to do as it pleased. Thump! 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 The demon core jumped 3 times without hesitation, indicating that it understood the human language. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "Do you have the Chaos Origins? If you do, hand it over and let me see what it looks like. As long as you are willing to cooperate with me, I'm willing to let you go. You still have a chance to reconstruct your body." In order to obtain the primal chaos origin, one must at least know what the primal chaos origin was and what it looked like. Up until now, Yi Qinghan obviously didn't know what the primal chaos origin was. Once he knew, he would search for the primal chaos origin in this primal chaos world. However, the demon core did not react much, as if it did not understand what Yi Qinghan was saying. Yi Qinghan frowned and thought to himself, could it be a coincidence? It doesn't understand my language at all? The chaos origins in the demon core was like a grain of sand in the ocean. It could not be forced out, and the demon core could not be handed over to Yi Qinghan. Therefore, the demon core could not be helped. It was not that it did not understand Yi Qinghan's language. The demon core moved, but no one knew what it was trying to say. Yi Qinghan could not destroy the demon core of this Ox Clan creature, so he could only let it go. The demon core only had a weak consciousness. After escaping from Yi Qinghan's control, it broke through the clouds and left. Yi Qinghan released the demon core and looked at the dim world. He decided to use this place as a base to continue venturing deeper. He moved carefully along the mountain range, occasionally killing small creatures to improve his vitality. In the vast abyss world, mountains rose one after another, and only one figure was shuttling back and forth. The aura of primal chaos enveloped Yi Qinghan, causing his soul to tremble slightly. His corporeal body became increasingly powerful as he charged through the mountain range like a spirit monkey. Whoosh, whoosh. Frenzied sword harvested lives and plundered divine herbs as soon as he found them. He would always explore places with strong chaotic aura, hoping to find the origin of chaos. It was just a matter of luck. If one wanted to find the origin of chaos in this vast world, they would not only need luck, but also heaven-defying luck. After traveling for more than 10 days in the abyss world, Yi Qinghan still could not find the so-called origin of chaos. He was extremely anxious. Emperor Yi and the others in Deep Heaven City were even more anxious, especially Emperor Yi. He could no longer bear it and wanted to go down to the abyss world to investigate. However, the Grand Elder of the Transcendent Convergence sect strongly objected. It was not for any other reason but because Emperor Yi was the inheritor of the Chaos Dragon, and the Kuelong was her sworn enemy. She was extremely sensitive to auras. If Emperor Yi went down, he would definitely alert the Kuelong. Zixian and Dong Qin, however, wanted to go down. Whether they could become lords again depended on the abyss world. Li Feng also wanted to go down. After some discussion, Emperor Yi could only stay behind while Li Feng, Zixian, Dong Qin, and Bai Yelu went down to save Yi Qinghan. Emperor Yi gave Yi Qinghan's life tablet to Li Feng. Using the life tablet, they could roughly locate Yi Qinghan's location, making it much easier to find him. The 4 of them found a god-locking chain that was dozens of meters long and tied the 4 of them together. They then rushed down. Occasionally, they would encounter flying beasts that swooped down, and they would kill them directly. After diving for tens of thousands of miles, the 4 of them finally understood how deep the abyss was. Yi Qinghan, who did not have any divine power to support him, did not die from falling down. They could not help but admire his heaven-defying luck. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the air currents in the abyss passageway surged. If not for the god-locking chain, the 4 of them would have been blown away long ago. The 4 of them sped down. After diving for 6 hours, they finally reached the bottom. They saw a vast expanse of gray, and the scratches of the chains were clearly visible. Bang! The 4 of them landed on the ground and felt the aura of primal chaos. Their bodies frantically absorbed the power of primal chaos, and the divine power in their godheads circulated rapidly. Powerful laws and great Tao profundities surrounded them, and the same profound attacks were actually much stronger than before. However, the four of them did not immediately cultivate. Li Feng took out his life tablet and sensed Yi Qinghan's location. They passed by the Kuelong's nest, not daring to alarm such a vicious beast. They immediately crossed over. Whoosh, 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 the four of them dodged countless vicious beasts and sped deeper into the abyss. Gradually, they found Yi Qinghan's tracks. Perhaps he had purposely left them behind. In front, Li Feng held his sword and sped forward. He found the valley from before and also the cave. He found nothing inside, but there were traces of a fire. Looking at the ashes, he guessed that Yi Qinghan had only left a day or two ago. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had run to a large swamp river by himself. The deep river continued to extend into the depths of the swamp. It was about 100 meters wide, and ancient trees were scattered all over the place. There were even piles of broken boats, which puzzled him. Could it be that there are other humans here besides me? Yi Qinghan looked into the abyss and couldn't help but be astonished. He cut down a dozen ancient trees and tied them into a bamboo raft. He threw them into the water, ready to investigate. Splash! After the bamboo raft entered the water, Yi Qinghan used a long stick to stir the water and paddled deeper into the abyss. The river wasn't deep, but it was very dark. It was difficult to see what was at the bottom of the river. Yi Qinghan didn't find it strange that a dragon suddenly appeared. Swoosh, 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 a water snake streaked across the water at lightning speed. Its fangs pierced through the void and bit Yi Qinghan's thigh. Crack! Yi Qinghan didn't have time to dodge. The unknown snake bit down on his thigh. But how could a small snake bite down on Yi Qinghan, whose body was comparable to a master god artifact? Its fangs broke, and the small snake fell onto the wooden raft. It was in so much pain that its body twisted and tangled together. Yi Qinghan let out a muffled groan and kicked him away before continuing forward. He rode the wooden raft into the swamp by himself and discovered an independent mountain range standing tall in the middle of the swamp. There were many wooden stakes nailed to the riverbank. They were clearly traces of human activity. Vicious beasts couldn't have done such a thing. Could there be a primal chaos divine race here? Yi Qinghan was astonished as he rowed the wooden raft to the riverbank. He dragged the wooden raft ashore and carefully made his way into the depths of the mountain range. Once he entered the mountain range, he discovered that there was actually a vast plain. There was no end to it, and thousands of flowers were blooming. He could even see smoke rising in spirals. If this wasn't a place where humans lived, what else could it be? Screech! The bird soared through the air and charged directly at Yi Qinghan. Chapter 1004. Screech! Unknown ferocious birds charged over from the depth. There were at least a dozen of them, and there were even children riding them. Ha ha, we found an outsider. Catch him. Watch me. Whoosh, a powerful ferocious bird swooped down with a 15-year-old boy on its back. Its sharp claws shattered the shackles in the air as it swiped at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan frowned. He wanted to kill the ferocious bird, but he stopped. After all, it would be difficult to communicate with a child who had just arrived. Thus, he turned around and dodged. Hee, brother Jiang, you failed. A crisp laughter came from another bird. It had a teasing tone, and it caused many children to roar with laughter. Yi Qinghan was very puzzled. How did this group of children, who were about 17 or even 9 years old, manage to ride such powerful ferocious birds? Seeing the boy surnamed Jiang charging over again, he dodged again and said hoarsely, I accidentally fell into the abyss world. I have no ill intentions when I passed by here. Little brother, please stop attacking. Our clan has lived here for tens of millions of years, and no outsider has ever come here. Whether or not you came here with ill intentions is still up to the clan elder to investigate. Surrender now, and we will force you back into the clan. Otherwise, don't blame us for attacking together." The boy surnamed Jiang stood up. He was very handsome and had an ancient charm to him. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and long hair. His arms were exposed, and there was a bracelet hanging from his arm. Yi Qinghan looked at the bracelet and couldn't help but be stunned. This bracelet was exactly the same as the one in Emperor Ye's hand. The other children stood up one after another. Some were curious, some were doubtful, and some were vigilant. Their outfits were almost the same, and the bracelets on their hands were the same. Everyone had one. "Brother Jiang, look at that saber in his hand. It looks so familiar," the little girl from before suddenly cried out as she stared at the star saber in Yi Qinghan's hand. The young girl was dressed similarly to the young man surnamed Jiang. She had a valiant bearing, slender legs, and a tall figure. She looked to be around 16 or 17 years old, but her figure was more like that of a young girl in her 20s. Her lips were thin, her teeth were white, and her skin was as white as snow. It was as if she hadn't seen the sun for many years, and her deep eyes were like the most dazzling stars in the sky. Yi Qinghan was also stunned by her peerless beauty. Such a woman should not be a creature of this world. She was a work of the gods and could not be molded. He looks like a star saber. Does he have the stellar battle body? The young man surnamed Jiang was at a loss for words. He suddenly shook the bell in his hand, and the rhythm continued to spread. Whoosh! A terrifying aura came from the depths. Giant wings that blotted out the sky soared into the sky, covering time and space. Swoosh! A giant bird soared into the sky, covering a distance of 10,000 kilometers in an instant. It descended not far from Yi Qinghan. It was a primal chaos firebird, as large as a phoenix. Its entire body emitted flames, and the temperature was so high that the earth was scorched dry and cracked. The other birds hid inside their master's body. A dozen children descended from the sky and surrounded Yi Qinghan. In the end, Yi Qinghan was still a fire essence body. Although he did not have any divine power, the flames could not affect him. A big man stood on the firebird, looking down at Yi Qinghan and the star saber. He said in a deep voice, "Who are you? Why have you appeared in the territory of my beast tamer clan?" "This one is Yi Qinghan. Now that the heavens have returned and the heavens have been re-established, a deep pit has appeared in the primal chaos universe. I accidentally fell here. Because I do not have a martial Tao origin and have lost my divine power, I am unable to return to the surface. I saw traces of humans and came to ask for help." Yi Qinghan was rather shocked. He did not expect this place to be the Beast Tamer clan. The secret history of primal chaos explained the Beast Tamer clan in detail. They were one of the most powerful clans, much more powerful than the 10,000 arts returned to one sect. This was because they could tame countless vicious beasts and other races, making them fight for them. Back then, the Beast Tamer clan was divided. One side chose to help the shaman race, while the other side chose to help the demonic god mountain. Both sides suffered losses. Yi Qinghan did not dare to state his position carelessly. He could only probe the other party's identity. "You have the stellar battle body?" The big man frowned and asked cautiously. "No. This saber is indeed the star saber, but I don't have the stellar battle body. I found this saber in the tomb of the first heaven-raising battle body." Yi Qinghan hurriedly explained. "You lost your martial Tao origin? I need to verify it. If you lie to me, I will make sure you die without a burial ground." The big man waved his hand and merged with the firebird. His body became extremely powerful. He took a step towards Yi Qinghan and reached out to grab Yi Qinghan's wrist. Yi Qinghan hesitated for a moment, but he did not resist and allowed the big man to check his pulse. The big man's divine sense wandered around Yi Qinghan's body and found no divine power fluctuations. He could not help but nod. Without divine power, a young man would not be a threat to the Beast Tamer clan. "Follow me to see the clan elder," the big man said coldly. He then turned to the children and said, "Follow me back to cultivate. If you dare to run away again, I will break your legs." "Yes, master." The children did not dare to refute and bowed their heads. Whoosh! The burly man let go of Yi Qinghan, and the firebird reappeared and landed on the ground. With a wave of its hand, the children were all pulled onto the firebird's back, and Yi Qinghan was also captured. The big man was surprised that Yi Qinghan could ignore the powerful flames. However, when he checked again, he still could not feel any divine power. Yi Qinghan saw the big man's confusion and explained with a smile, "I used to have a fire origin body. Although I lost my divine power, I am still immune to flames." The big man nodded and led the group into the depth. "Hey, what's the outside world like? Is it better than here?" The young man surnamed Jiang asked excitedly. "Big brother, can you tell me what the outside world is like?" According to the historical records, the outside world is very beautiful and has sunlight. "I wonder what the world under the sunlight looks like." The beautiful girl hurriedly ran to Yi Qinghan and asked curiously. Yi Qinghan looked at the dusky world. He could not understand how these creatures survived. There was no sunlight, only grayish-red light. It was like hell. It was not much better than the netherworld. In fact, it was even worse. The outside world is very beautiful, but the people do not cherish it. It is a mess. "It is not much better than here," Yi Qinghan said truthfully. "Are the two factions still there? Are they still fighting?" The big man asked curiously. Yi Qinghan nodded and replied, "Yes, they are still there. However, the heavenly Tao has returned, and everyone's cultivation has been reduced. Both sides are recuperating." This group of people did not seem to know that the heavenly Tao had returned. The big man's cultivation was at the primal chaos giant god level. The other children were either at the lower god level or at the intermediate god level. Only the young man surnamed Jiang and the girl were at the upper god level. However, their battle strength was comparable to Di Longtian. They were definitely invincible kings. Chapter 1005. These children didn't seem to have lived for very long. They didn't seem to be in their 20s, but the Jiang boy and girl were around 1,000 years old. Even so, they were still considered very young compared to Di Longtian. Their strength was top-notch, and once they fused with a vicious beast, they would definitely become invincible kings. A dozen or so children surrounded Yi Qinghan, trying to find out the difference between the outside world and the abyss world. They chattered non-stop. After chatting for a while, they learned that the Jiang Beast Tamers tribe actually had the surname Jiang. There was no second surname. This was the Jiang clan tribe. The boy was called Jiang Jingheng and the girl was called Jiang Jingyun. They were cousins and were geniuses of the Beast Tamers tribe. Although they were only low-level high god, they could tame high-level high god abyssal creatures. They had once traveled to the central region of the abyss world and were very famous in the city. The Beast Tamers tribe occupied the entire mountain range. There were a total of 3 large cities in this mountain range, and 3 clan elders led the tribe to survive in the abyss world. They were still growing stronger. Martial God City was one of them. Jiang Jingheng lived in Martial God City. The Beast Tamers in this city revered the martial path and had powerful physical bodies. They were different from the rest of the Beast Tamers tribe. The burly man in front of them was a martial king. Although his physical body hadn't reached sage level, after fusing with the firebird, his physical body wouldn't lose out to Yi Qinghan by much. The burly man was very cold and wasn't willing to communicate with Yi Qinghan. It was Jiang Jingyun who secretly told Yi Qinghan that this burly man was the martial arts instructor of Martial God City. His name was Jiang Wu, and all the young children learned martial arts from him. He had a high status in the city. This mountain range was very large, and there was a vast plain inside. It was the size of a planet, and the 3 cities equally divided the land. It was enough for the Beast Tamers tribe to survive for a very long time. Moreover, experts would enter the depths of the abyss world and compete for resources with the vicious beasts. After so many years of development, the Beast Tamers tribe was much stronger than the 2 factions. Now that the 3 cities had joined forces, it was very likely that they would be able to contend with either faction. Whoosh! The Firebird flapped its wings, traveling 1,000 kilometers in an instant. Soon, it arrived outside Martial God City. Outside the city, there was a large group of children training their bodies. Martial arts had become a compulsory course for all beast tamers in Martial God City. Yi Qinghan looked at the group of children cultivating. Although they weren't at a low level, they weren't at a high level either. However, there were very few races that specialized in martial arts, which was worthy of praise. There were about 10,000 children, and the children were divided into 10 or so groups. Some were under the age of 10, and some were between the ages of 10 and 20. Almost every age group had an area for them to cultivate. They sparred with each other, and some children were even beaten to the point of crying. Jiang Wu placed the dozen children on the ground and put away the Firebird. He coldly said to Yi Qinghan, "Follow me into the city to meet the clan elder." Yi Qinghan raised his head and looked at the so-called city. It was actually a huge tribe. It didn't even have city walls, and the buildings were very ancient. They were all made of wood and formed many circles. The center of the circle was naturally where the clan elder cultivated. Jiang Jingyun and Jiang Jingheng secretly waved their hands, indicating to Yi Qinghan that they still wanted to communicate with him. Yi Qinghan glanced at them from the corner of his eyes and smiled. He then walked towards the tribe with Jiang Wu. Many children looked at Yi Qinghan curiously and discussed among themselves. "Let me tell you, that handsome big brother is from outside the realm. He's handsome, right? He's indeed different from us. He told us that the outside world is very, very beautiful. There's a sun, many stars, and even a moon." Jiang Jingyun said to the group of little girls as if he was presenting a treasure. He was so excited that his eyes shone as if he had seen it with his own eyes. "Wow, I'm looking forward to it. These can only be seen in ancient books." "So it's true," many girls said enviously. "When the clan elder sees him and confirms that he's not a threat to us, we'll ask him again and see if he can draw a picture of the outside world for us," Jiang Jingyun said excitedly. Yi Qinghan followed Jiang Wu along the small path and kept turning. This place was connected in all directions, and there were small paths everywhere. It was easy for people who didn't belong to this place to get lost. Jiang Wu was still as cold as ever. He wasn't willing to say another word to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan naturally wouldn't touch a cold but with a warm face. However, he tightened his grip on the saber in his hand. In this kind of tribe, if there was a disagreement, it would be a problem whether or not he could escape. Just this Jiang Wu alone was enough to make him suffer. The tribe was very large, and the houses were built in a mess. After walking for more than 2 hours, the two finally arrived at the central area. This was a small lake surrounded by green mountains and clear waters. The water here was unusually clear, unlike the deep rivers outside that were as black as ink. It was extremely frightening. A huge palace appeared in front of them, causing Yi Qinghan's heart to twitch. This was because the building materials were none other than primal chaos divine sources. This house was priceless. The aura of primal chaos pervaded the air, and its might overflowed into the sky. "Damn, this clan elder is truly extravagant. He actually used so much primal chaos divine sources to build a house. Yi Qinghan muttered in his heart. He was becoming more and more unfathomable about the strength of this tribe. This tribe possessed so many cultivation resources and had never been involved in a war. After so many years, no one would believe that this tribe wasn't powerful. Greetings to the clan elder. Jiang Wu has discovered an outsider with a star saber in his hand. He has quite a few astral battle physiques, but he has already lost his martial origin. I ask the clan elder to inform me how to deal with him. Jiang Wu was extremely respectful. He knelt outside the palace and didn't dare to show the slightest bit of blasphemy. Kill him. Don't let outsiders disturb the peace of the beast tamer lineage. A deep and resounding voice came from within the palace. The tone was extremely calm. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the clan elder to kill him without even seeing him. He couldn't help but take a few steps back. He gripped the hilt of his frenzied blade and replied in a deep voice, "Senior, aren't you being a bit too tyrannical? I've mistakenly entered this place, and only wanted to ask for help. I just want to leave this place. If Senior isn't willing to help, then it's fine. There's no need to kill me, right? Impudent! How dare you be disrespectful to my clan elder? My clan elder is giving you the death penalty because he thinks highly of you. Die!" Jiang Wu stood up. He didn't use his divine power. He directly swung his iron fist at Yi Qinghan. Boom! His fist was covered in scorching flames. It blew up the air and arrived in front of Yi Qinghan's head in the blink of an eye. Jiang Wu was about 2 meters tall, about the same as Yi Qinghan. However, his physical body was much heavier than Yi Qinghan's. He looked more robust and powerful. His aura was like a rainbow, containing martial arts technique. He looked quite powerful, but to a martial arts master like Yi Qinghan, it was simply too weak to withstand a single blow. Yi Qinghan's right hand released the hilt of his saber. His right foot lightly slid, and he took half a step back. His body leaned backward, and his right hand took advantage of the momentum to pull Jiang Wu's fist behind him. Then, he suddenly pressed down, pressing his arm against Jiang Wu's chest. Boom! Yi Qinghan instantly erupted. His destructive power was no weaker than a peak king god's attack. He directly sent Jiang Wu flying more than 10 meters away. This was also because he had held back. Otherwise, he would have directly cleaved Jiang Wu in half. Jiang Wu rolled a few meters on the ground. He struggled to stand up and looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. He didn't expect that his martial arts would actually lose to Yi Qinghan's. Moreover, it was a clean defeat. Yi Qinghan had clearly gone easy on him. "My friend, I have no intention of becoming your enemy. Please don't push me too far." Yi Qinghan gripped his saber again and warned in a deep voice. Chapter 1006. An austere aura filled the air as Jiang Wu coldly stared at Yi Qinghan. He didn't want to believe that he had been sent flying by Yi Qinghan in a single move. Moreover, he didn't have the source of martial arts and couldn't use his divine power. Jiang Wu couldn't believe that this was real. It was definitely a coincidence. The clan elder also fell silent. He didn't expect Jiang Wu, a martial arts master, to be defeated by an outsider in an instant. A martial arts god? Or is it a coincidence? A murmur came from the great hall, voicing the question in everyone's heart. It also voiced the question in Jiang Wu's heart. In terms of martial arts, Yi Qinghan was indeed a martial arts god. As long as he had some divine power to fly, he could easily defeat most of the main gods. Which camp do you belong to? The clan elder's aura erupted and pressed down on Yi Qinghan. Just this aura alone was enough to kill all the main gods Yi Qinghan had seen, except for the serpent and the second sorcerer god. I don't belong to any camp. I got the star saber by accident. It's not the astral battle constitution, Yi Qinghan said honestly. I've never believed that you're an outsider. The clan elder slowly stood up. His hair was white, but he was full of vigor and his body was very strong. It was very likely that it was caused by body refinement. It was easy to tell if a cultivator of the same age practiced martial arts or not from their physical body. The elder had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He was about 1.8 meters tall and was dressed in a white robe. His hair was long and flowed down his shoulders like a waterfall. He walked out of the hall with firm steps and appeared before Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan held the frenzied blade tightly and squinted at the old man. He was very alert and took a few steps back. Jiang Wu, bring him to the martial arts practice field. I want to watch you fight. If you lie to this old man, then you can be buried here, the clan elder said coldly. Jiang Wu clenched his fists and stared at Yi Qinghan. He finally became serious and said in a deep voice, "Please." After he finished speaking, Jiang Wu took the lead and went back the way he came. Yi Qinghan followed behind, his back drenched in cold sweat. His mind was tense, and he didn't dare to relax in the slightest. Even though he knew that if the clan elder wanted to kill him, there was no need for a sneak attack, but this kind of situation where he couldn't control the situation made him feel very uncomfortable. Jiang Wu increased his speed. He really wanted to defeat Yi Qinghan again and show off his martial art. The old man behind them seemed to be walking lightly, but he was always 10 meters behind the two of them. It was as if he was teleporting. His cultivation was unfathomable. An hour later, the three of them arrived at the martial arts practice field. The children were still bitterly training their physical bodies. They were either running wildly with rocks in their arms, hitting wooden stakes, or sparring with each other. When they saw the clan elder come out, they couldn't help but bow and greet him. This kind of ancient tribe respected elders and sages very much. The clan elder's orders were the will of the heavens. No one dared to go against him. Jiang Jingheng and Jiang Jingyun saw that Yi Qinghan was very nervous. His hand didn't leave the hilt of his blade, and they knew that something bad was going to happen. "Everyone, back off," Jiang Wu said in a deep voice. All the young children dispersed, leaving a large empty space for Yi Qinghan and Jiang Wu. The martial arts practice field's stone slabs were smooth as if they had just been washed. After so many years of refining, there was almost no damage to them at all. It was clear that the materials used were very precious. Yi Qinghan faced the clan elder and Jiang Wu from the side. He could not leave his back to them. The others were not lords. There were very few half-step lords, so they could not cause him any harm. "Jiang Wu, force him to show his bottom line," the clan elder said calmly. The clan elder's goal was very clear. He wanted to force Yi Qinghan to show his bottom line and find out which camp he was on. Yi Qinghan frowned deeply. For a moment, he could not figure out which camp this beast-tamer tribe belonged to. He dared not reveal too much, so he could only react accordingly. "Brat, prepare to take this." Jiang Wu's chi exploded. Veins popped all over his body as he merged with the firebird. His entire body exuded a scorching aura of flames. There was no doubt that he could punch through the sturdy rocks of the abyssal mountain. Everyone looked at Jiang Wu in shock. He was a famous martial Dao master in the clan. In terms of martial Dao alone, even the clan elder might not be a match for him. However, he was facing Yi Qinghan in such a serious manner. Yi Qinghan gripped the hilt of his sword. In the end, he let go and locked his sword behind his back. He stood in front of Jiang Wu and said calmly, "Please enlighten me." "You're allowed to use your sword," Jiang Wu said haughtily. Yi Qinghan pursed his lips and shook his head. Once he drew his sword, it would be very difficult for Jiang Wu to escape unscathed. There was nothing to be gained from offending him. I will naturally use it when I need it, Yi Qinghan said truthfully. Jiang Wu was furious. He stomped his foot and his body shot forward like an arrow. His fiery fist blasted towards Yi Qinghan. His speed was so fast that it was difficult to track his movement. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stepped to the side lightly. The fist rushed past his face. The wind from the fist swept up his hair and caused his face to burn with a stinging pain. Boom! Jiang Wu's attack missed. He wasn't done yet. His arm suddenly swept horizontally and blasted towards Yi Qinghan's head. Yi Qinghan slid back more than 10 meters. He didn't counterattack. He hoped that the clan elder would call for a halt. He didn't want to offend Jiang Wu. Boom! However, Jiang Wu was even more furious. He kicked Yi Qinghan in the air. His chi was fierce and powerful. His momentum was extraordinary. Mountain-splitting kick. Hua! Scorching flames appeared on Jiang Wu's leg. The air was set ablaze and a pungent smell spread in all directions. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He knew that he couldn't dodge anymore. He crossed his legs and moved forward to meet the mountain-splitting kick. When they came into contact, his arms trembled. Only then did he realize how strong Jiang Wu was. However, no matter how strong he was, it was still just pure physical strength. He couldn't compete with Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan lowered his arms. He dragged Jiang Wu's leg as he retreated. He suddenly flung Jiang Wu backwards. Before Jiang Wu could kick out with his left leg, his body was flung away. This was the principle of Tai Chi. It emphasized speed and also the principle of strength. Bang bang bang! Yi Qinghan's strength and speed combined with Jiang Wu's strength sent Jiang Wu flying dozens of feet. He slammed into the stone floor and rolled dozens of times before coming to a stop. This was the second time Yi Qinghan had sent him flying. Jiang Wu felt as though his right leg was about to break. His martial arts weren't even half as effective in front of Yi Qinghan. The clan elder and the other children looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. Jiang Wu's martial arts were synonymous with invincibility in their eyes. They didn't expect that he would be defeated by this young man in front of them. Wow! His martial arts are so strong. Jiang Jingyun was speechless. Jiang Jingheng was also a little surprised. He had never seen anyone defeat Jiang Wu so easily. What a powerful outlander! Are all the outlanders so powerful? Many of the young children discussed in shock. Jiang Wu flew into a rage out of humiliation. His divine power poured out. His fist was like a steel knife, and his body was like an eagle. He fiercely attacked Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan stared at the incoming fist. He knew that he couldn't retreat and could only take it head-on. He clenched his iron fist, and his dragon blood boiled. He fiercely attacked. Boom! The two iron fists collided. The dragon power counterattacked and sent Jiang Wu flying. Crack! The sound of bones breaking resounded through the arena. Jiang Wu grunted and continuously retreated. Yi Qinghan's body trembled. He deliberately took a few steps back to give Jiang Wu some face. He cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Taoist Jiang Wu. If you had used half of your divine power, I would have lost." The clan elder's eyebrows twitched. He felt the dragon power that came from the bloodline. He immediately said, "Jiang Wu, stop." Chapter 1007. Jiang Wu, stop. When the clan elder discovered Yi Qinghan's identity, he immediately stopped him from attacking. Jiang Wu's face twisted. Yi Qinghan's fist had broken the bones in his hand. He couldn't use any strength even if he wanted to. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan's fist to be so hard. Yi Qinghan quickly thanked him and cupped his fist. If Dao Frenjiang had used a bit more divine power, the one bleeding would have been this Yi. Jiang Wu's expression became slightly better. However, losing to Yi Qinghan made him feel uncomfortable. In order to save Jiang Wu's face, the clan elder revealed Yi Qinghan's identity. It's not a loss to lose to him in martial arts. He's from the giant dragon bloodline. Although he doesn't have the source of martial arts and can't use divine power, his giant dragon bloodline is still there. The giant dragon bloodline is a martial god. Their physical body is number one. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Yi Qinghan was from the giant dragon bloodline. After all, his bloodline was indeed purer than the giant dragon bloodline. Everyone suddenly realized that the giant dragon bloodline was the most powerful divine beast in the world. As long as they reached adulthood, their physical body would become sacred, comparable to a master god. No other race had more advantages than the giant dragon bloodline. Jiang Wu's expression changed slightly. Only now did he feel better. What was there to be sad about losing to the giant dragon bloodline in physical body? He should be proud. No one could compare their physical body to the giant dragon bloodline, not even the clan elder. So you're from the giant dragon bloodline. Jiang Wu was disrespectful. Jiang Wu advocated martial arts and had always been in awe of physical experts. He didn't have the arrogance from before as he cupped his fists and bowed. Your Excellency is the strongest human I've ever seen. This Yi admires you. Yi Qinghan flattered. In terms of physical strength, Jiang Wu was indeed strong, but he couldn't be considered the strongest. At least in terms of martial arts, Li Feng, Gu Qingyu, and Di Longtian could all defeat him. However, they were in his territory, so it was better to give him some face. Jiang Wu smiled in satisfaction and used his divine power to heal his injured body. He cupped his fists and said, "Fellow Taoist Yi, we can exchange more martial arts in the future. I like martial arts very much. Learning from each other. I'm also quite interested in martial arts," Yi Qinghan quickly replied. "Who?" Yi Qinghan inwardly breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that this matter was finally over. The dragons didn't belong to any faction, after all. The Chaos Dragons were only concerned with the survival of the entire Chaosverse. "What's your name?" The clan elder looked at Yi Qinghan without any emotion. "Junior Yi Qinghan greets Senior." Yi Qinghan bowed and said. The old man nodded and said indifferently, "My clan won't come out. You can rest assured and stay in Martial God City. Don't run around. This abyss world is very dangerous. Even this old man doesn't dare to casually enter its depth." After saying that, the clan elder turned and left without saying anything else. Yi Qinghan wanted to say something but hesitated. He still wanted to ask about the origin of chaos, but the clan elder didn't give him the chance. "Fellow Taoist Yi, come. Let's talk about martial arts. What kind of strange technique did you use in front of the clan elder's palace? You actually sent me flying," Jiang Wu whispered to Yi Qinghan when he saw the clan elder leave and no longer restrained him. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched and he said with a smile, "That's the principle of Tai Chi in martial arts. Borrowing force to fight force. Actually, I didn't send you flying. It was your own force that returned to your body. Can you teach me? I can teach you beast taming technique. My clan's beast taming ability is absolutely unmatched in the world," Jiang Wu said solemnly. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said with a bitter smile, "I don't have divine power. Beast taming techniques are broad and profound. Even if I can learn them, I won't be able to use them at all." Only then did Jiang Wu react. He was in a very difficult position. He wanted to learn the principles of Tai Chi, but he didn't want to take advantage of others. He could only scratch his head. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment and deliberately said, "Unfortunately, I can't find the origin of chaos to replace the origin of martial arts. The origin of martial arts is completely useless. Forget it, I'll just leave all my martial arts techniques empty. I might as well pass them all to you." "Origin of chaos?" Jiang Wu's brows twitched. He seemed to have thought of something, but he couldn't be sure at the moment. He muttered, I think I've heard of the origin of chaos somewhere before. But it's been too long. It's very rare, so I can't remember. Yi Qinghan's heart trembled. Since Jiang Wu knew about the origin of chaos, then the clan elder must know even more. Come, Big brother Jiang, you don't have to think about that. My martial arts origin is crippled and it's very difficult to recover. Let's discuss martial arts. Yi Qinghan pretended to be sad. He demonstrated the principles of Tai Chi step by step to Jiang Wu. He showed the operation of strength, pulling, guiding, sticking, sending, and other profound mysteries to Jiang Wu. This attracted the attention of many youths. They stared at Yi Qinghan with shining eyes, afraid that they would miss out on the profound mysteries. The principles of Tai Chi seemed simple, but it was very difficult to actually use. It required a precise grasp of the profound mysteries of martial arts. Every point of force had to be controlled with great precision. One also had to grasp the inch strike when exerting force, suddenly exploding out and sending the opponent's strength back by double or even more. Jiang Wu was immersed in learning. The more he learned, the more he felt that Yi Qinghan's martial arts were far superior to his. Yi Qinghan's profound mysteries of martial arts had already reached the pinnacle. It was an honor to lose to such a person. Yi Qinghan patiently taught, and the group of children also began to learn. Jiang Jingheng and Jiang Jingyun learned very well. They were more familiar with Yi Qinghan, so they began to ask about some techniques and essences. Yi Qinghan deduced the principles of Tai Chi into a routine. After learning it, he had them practice with each other to explore the timing of exerting force and the route of circulating their divine power. These young children were not lacking in talent. Their world belonged to the primal chaos world, and their minds were close to the origin of nature. It was very simple, so it was easier for them to learn. Yi Qinghan looked at them immersed in their bitter cultivation. He was not so utilitarian. He thought that it would be a good choice to nurture this group of people into martial arts masters. In any case, whether or not he could restore his martial arts origin was still a problem. The origin of primal chaos was something that could only be discovered and not sought. In the end, Yi Qinghan taught the heavenly dragon eagle binding palms to the siblings Jiang Wu and Jiang Jingheng. He did not teach the rest of the martial arts technique. Just these two techniques alone were something that many people would never be able to understand in their entire lives. The heavenly dragon eagle binding palms was definitely a martial god-level technique. After being constantly polished by Yi Qinghan, it had almost no weaknesses. As long as one was fast enough, even the most powerful enemy would be nothing more than a target. Time flew by, and Yi Qinghan gradually became familiar with Martial God City. The clan elder had always been watching Yi Qinghan from somewhere. He wanted to observe Yi Qinghan, but he discovered that Yi Qinghan was only engrossed in martial arts. He taught everyone martial arts. The principles of Tai Chi and the heavenly dragon eagle binding palms were both supreme treasures of martial arts. Even he wanted to learn them. However, due to his reputation, he did not practice them. The origin of martial arts is irreversible. Once it is crippled, it can never be restored. There is only one way to use divine power again, and that is to replace it with the origin of primal chaos. However, this kind of thing is too rare, the clan elder muttered to himself and shook his head. It seemed that he had no intention of helping Yi Qinghan. Chapter 1008. Yi Qinghan glanced at the place where the clan elder was hiding out of the corner of his eye. He pretended not to notice and taught the young children martial arts in peace. Yi Qinghan stayed in Martial God City for more than 10 days. A large number of citizens of martial God City returned triumphantly from the depths of the abyss world with large amounts of treasures, divine medicines, beast hides, flesh, and so on. Many of them were vigilant and curious when they saw Yi Qinghan, a stranger. These were all middle-aged men with decent cultivations. The weakest among them was a mid-level god. There were about 1,000 of them, and there was no lack of women among them. Beast tamers had a high casualty rate among able-bodied men. There were many women, and most of them practiced polygamy. Even so, after so many years of inheritance, the population of martial God City did not exceed 30,000. Most of them were elderly, women, and children. It was already considered a lot if they could maintain 1,000 able-bodied men. Jiang Wu was very happy when he saw that everyone had returned with prey and tamed another batch of powerful ferocious beasts. Little Wu, who is this person? How come I have never seen him before? A dignified middle-aged man looked at Yi Qinghan. He was not angry, but he was imposing. He looked to be in his 50s, and the veins on his body were clearly visible. His physical strength was probably even stronger than Jiang Wu's. As for his martial arts techniques, they would only know after a fight. However, for someone to directly address Jiang Wu as Little Wu, his cultivation was definitely not simple. Jiang Wu was not angered by the other party's address. His seniority should not be as high as this middle-aged man's. Instead, he pulled Yi Qinghan over and introduced him. Big brother, this is an outsider called Yi Qinghan. He accidentally intruded into our clan. The clan elder has already met him. His understanding of martial arts is much stronger than mine. I heard from the clan elder that he is a descendant of the colossal dragon bloodline. If you have time, you can spar with him. Yi Qinghan nodded and said, Yi Qinghan greets Dao brother. The middle-aged man stared at Yi Qinghan. When their eyes met, battle intent surged in his eyes. He said indifferently, My name is Kong Yongwu. I am Little Wu's older brother. Since Little Wu admires you so much, I would like to see the physical strength of a dragon's descendant. Boom. Kong Yongwu did not even give Yi Qinghan a chance to speak. He threw a punch at Yi Qinghan's head. The distance between them was only 2 to 3 meters. Kong Yongwu's speed was so fast that space collapsed in an instant. It could be seen how fast his fist was. Jiang Wu wasn't the only one who was stunned. The surrounding people screamed in shock. However, there was no time to stop it. Kong Yongwu was definitely a top-tier existence among the overgods. He could be compared to Yi Qinghan without using his divine power. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He did not have time to think. He leaned to the side and reached out to grab Kong Yongwu's wrist. He then fiercely flung Kong Yongwu backward. Kong Yongwu immediately lost control of his body and fell to the right of Yi Qinghan. However, Kong Yongwu's reaction was not slow. He turned his hand and grabbed Yi Qinghan's arm, pulling him up from the ground. Bang! Yi Qinghan and Kong Yongwu grabbed each other's wrists and pressed down at the same time, trying to shake the other off. Crack! Bam! Bam! Boom! Kong Yongwu suddenly sank and landed on the ground. With a sweep of his leg, he stirred up a huge shockwave. Many young experts could not withstand the shockwave and were sent flying backward. Roar! A powerful white tiger appeared behind Kong Yongwu. It was at least 30 to 40 feet tall. Dodge! Many hunters retreated with their children, not daring to take the brunt of the attack. Yi Qinghan's veins bulged and his dragon blood boiled. He was unwilling to retreat. He had to force Kong Yongwu back. Otherwise, he did not know how long this battle would last. 5 Elements Dragon Fist. Boom! Roar! The giant dragon force formed a huge dragon behind Yi Qinghan. The power of heaven and earth gathered in the center of his fist. With a twist of his waist, his body shot out like a sword rainbow and blasted towards Kong Yongwu's feet. Boom! The giant dragon shadow was shattered by Kong Yongwoo's powerful kick and collided with Yi Qinghan's fist. Inch strike. Yi Qinghan bent his wrist and moved back half an inch. In an instant, the giant dragon force exploded and crashed into Kong Yongwoo's body through his fist. Bam! Kong Yongwoo seemed to have been hit by a giant dragon. His body flew a few thousand meters in the air and was directly ejected out of the training ground. Bam! 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 Yi Qinghan took dozens of steps back before he could stabilize his body. His face was pale and his fist was burning with pain. It was obvious how strong Kong Yongwoo was. Hiss! Everyone gasped. Jiang Wu's pupils shrank. He realized that Yi Qinghan did not use his full strength. He did not even use half of his strength. Otherwise, that punch would have destroyed his body. Damn! What an abnormal body! Big Brother Jingwu and the White Tiger fused, but he could not take a punch from him. Did he fuse with the White Tiger? How can he have such a powerful body? He must have fused. Didn't you see Big Brother Jingwu use the White Tiger roar? Everyone was discussing among themselves. They were shocked to see Kong Yongwoo limping towards the training ground. He was not angry. Instead, he laughed and said, "Good boy. This is the first time I have been punched by someone with my physical body. My leg is about to break. You are really a martial arts genius. Unfortunately, my martial arts source is shattered. My achievements in this life will stop here." Don't talk nonsense if you don't know anything. You can use the chaos source to replace the martial arts figure. A clear voice with a hint of disdain mocked. Everyone turned to look behind them. They wanted to see who it was that did not give Kong Yongwoo any face. Yi Qinghan also curiously looked in the direction of the voice. It did not matter if he did not look, but when he looked, he was shocked. A young woman had a white parrot sitting on top of her. Wasn't that the devouring divine parrot? It looked exactly like a divine bird. However, this divine bird sounded like a female. The young woman's expression changed. She quickly covered the devouring divine parrot's mouth and looked at Kong Yongwoo awkwardly. She pleaded, "Big brother, don't be angry. I found this little parrot in the depth. I thought it was interesting, so I brought it back. I did not expect it to know so much. It's fine. It's just a feathered beast. I won't take it to heart," Kong Yongwoo said straightforwardly. They did not care about the devouring divine parrot, but Yi Qinghan cared. There were only 2 divine birds like this in the entire chaotic universe. Although this bird was cheap, it was very useful. Devouring divine parrot. Fellow Taoist, can you sell this divine bird to me? I can exchange it with a martial god level martial skill, Yi Qinghan said excitedly. There's a kid who knows his stuff. He actually knows that I'm a divine bird. Ha ha. The devouring divine parrot laughed loudly. It struggled out of the young woman's hand and said happily. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. It seemed like this bird's cheap nature was passed down from their ancestors. It was not affected by the environment at all. There were also males and females. In any case, they were narcissistic. Everyone was speechless. They did not expect this bird to be so narcissistic. The young woman looked at Yi Qinghan awkwardly. She originally wanted to bring the parrot back for her child to play with. She did not expect that Yi Qinghan would be willing to exchange it with a martial god level martial skill. Martial god level martial skills were not found everywhere. In the entire martial god city, there were only a few martial god level martial skills that had been passed down. Every half-step martial god level martial skill required a large amount of contribution points. Chapter 1009. The young woman was very flirtatious and charming. She was just a widow. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had to go to the Abyss Realm to hunt and feed her family. After learning that the spirit-engulfing divine parrot was so valuable, she agreed to sell it without hesitation. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. He turned to Jiang Wu and said, "Brother Jiang Wu, please teach this female friend the heavenly dragon eagle binding hands and the principles of Tai Chi. I really need this divine bird." Jiang Wu nodded. This was Yi Qinghan's cultivation technique. He could teach it to whoever he wanted. He didn't need any contribution points. The spirit-engulfing divine parrot raised its head proudly and jumped from the young woman's hands to Yi Qinghan's shoulder. It pretended to be deep and asked, "Young man, you have good eyes. How did you recognize me as a divine bird?" Yi Qinghan. He couldn't imagine what kind of expression the divine bird would have when it came out and saw this female divine bird. "I have a divine bird just like you. It's just that it's male and you're female," Yi Qinghan said calmly. "Holy F***ck. Where is it? Where is it? Hurry up and let me see it. I want to mate with it," the female divine bird yelled. "Pfff, ha ha ha. This bird is so smart." Everyone laughed. Yi Qinghan's face was covered in cold sweat. Why was this spirit-engulfing divine parrot so unreliable? "My martial arts foundation has been destroyed. My sea of consciousness has been sealed. It's been sealed in my blood. Unless I can use my divine power and regain control of my sea of consciousness, it won't be able to come out," Yi Qinghan said calmly. "The essence of chaos. I'll take you to the essence of chaos," the female divine bird yelled excitedly. "Do you know where the essence of chaos is?" Yi Qinghan asked anxiously. "I don't know." The divine bird did not even think about it before pouring a bucket of cold water on Yi Qinghan. "It's very dangerous in the depths. If you want to find the origin of chaos, come with us into the mountains next time. Whether or not you can find it will depend on your luck. This kind of thing is extremely rare. According to the ancient records, the origin of chaos is the original thing that was born at the beginning of the world. It can fuse with and replace all kinds of origins. When the origin of chaos condenses into a crystal, it will be surrounded by a kind of stone. This kind of stone is the supreme grade divine source. When you find a supreme grade divine source mine, you will have a chance to find the origin of chaos, Kong Yongwu said frankly. There were almost no supreme grade divine roots in the outside world. The abyss world still retained the aura of primal chaos. The primal chaos origins had the best chance of gathering here. Yi Qinghan was impatient and wanted to find the origin of primal chaos right away. With the help of the divine bird, his chances of finding the origin of primal chaos would increase by quite a bit. However, these natives didn't think there was a chance. Jiang Wu reminded Yi Qinghan, "Brother Yi, we, the beast tamers, have to form groups if we want to go into the depths. We're almost always out in full force. In addition to the ferocious pets that we've tamed, the mortality rate is extremely high. If you go into the depths alone, you'll be courting death." Yi Qinghan was helpless. He could only wait for the beast tamers to enter the mountains again. However, they entered the mountains very frequently. They would enter the mountains once a month. At the moment, Li Feng and the rest were approaching the beast tamers' territory in a group. The four of them were very careful as they had encountered many ferocious beasts along the way. It was extremely dangerous. If it weren't for the fact that the weakest among the four of them was a half-step lord, it was very likely that they would not have even made it halfway. Li Feng looked at the reaction from Yi Qinghan's life token and said in a low voice, "We're getting closer to him. That means we're on the right path." The closer the life token was to Yi Qinghan, the more intense the life fluctuations would be. They had already arrived at the swamp at the moment. They would discover this place after crossing the swamp. "He's entered the depths of the swamp." Dong Qin lifted her gaze and looked into the depths. Subsequently, she fixed her gaze on a mountain range filled with chaos on the left. She felt that there was a chaos-level absolute treasure in that mountain range. It would be at least Lord-level divine medicine. Naturally, the Lord-level divine medicine she was talking about was at the level of a chaos giant god. It was a divine medicine that could allow one to elevate to Lord level. Currently, elevating to Lord level was as difficult as ascending to heaven. If such a divine medicine were to be brought out, it would be enough to make both camps fight to the death. Let's look for Brother Yi first. We'll go to that mountain range when we return, Zixian suggested. Yes, it's best to find him first. He doesn't have any divine power, so it'll be very difficult for him to survive. Everyone agreed and began building a wooden raft. The four of them rowed the wooden raft and began to venture deeper. The water rippled, and the dark waters made them wary. The four of them had their backs to each other as they guarded their surroundings. Suddenly, Dong Qin's pupils shrank. She noticed that the water flow to their right was fluctuating abnormally. The bamboo raft beneath their feet began to vibrate as well. She hurriedly warned them, "Be careful. There's something approaching from the right. It's not small." Li Feng and Bai Yelu drew their swords at the same time and guarded their right side at the same time. Rustle, 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 the water rippled, and the fluctuations were very wide. It was extremely frightening. Zixian and Dong Qin had their backs to each other. Their eyes were vigilant as they noticed that the water ripples around them were becoming abnormal. There must be a large number of creatures surging out from the depths of the swamp. Whoosh! Zixian's eyes began to change. The space around them began to distort. The water in front of them rippled, and a crack appeared. It became wider and deeper, but how deep was this swamp? They couldn't even reach the bottom. Whoosh! The underwater creature finally appeared. It was completely different from what they had predicted. It wasn't an anaconda at all, but something similar to an electric eel. Its body was covered in black lightning, and many creatures around it were directly electrocuted to death. They lost all resistance upon contact. It was as big as an anaconda, and it was more than 10 feet long. There was no one, but at least 7 or 8 electric eels. Whoosh! The electric eels rushed out from the bottom of the water and spewed out black lightning. They surrounded the four of them. The lightning was shocking and carried a sharp destructive power. It was densely packed and difficult to dodge. Boom! Li Feng and Bai Yelu pierced through an electric eel with their swords, but the lightning passed through their swords and rushed into their bodies. Whoosh! Their powerful bodies were directly shattered by the lightning, and blood flowed like a river. Their vigorous vitality drove many electric eels crazy. Many underwater creatures began to swarm over, but they were electrocuted to death by the electric eels as soon as they got close to the battlefield. Bang, bang, bang! Roar! Countless creatures screamed and wailed, but their vigorous vitality drove them forward one after another. Bang! An electric eel was immobilized in midair by Zixian. Time and space were sealed, and it was unable to shift even an inch. Dong Qin extended her sword and chopped off the head of the electric eel. Her chi stirred and crushed the head of the electric eel. However, the body of the electric eel broke free from her control and was flung towards the wooden raft. Bang! The wooden raft was smashed to pieces, and the four of them flew backward in a panic. However, the underwater creature could fly, and its fangs could instantly bite through a half-step Lord-level defense. Bai Yelu was instantly inflicted with several wounds. Zixian's eyes flickered with a rainbow glow. Everything in her sight was destroyed. However, the rate at which her divine power was being depleted was beyond what she could bear. Zixian coughed up blood. Her body trembled, and she almost fell into the swamp. There were many carnivorous fish below. They were attracted by the vigorous Lord-level vitality and began to move restlessly. Back then, Yi Qinghan had been very lucky. He had not been attacked by the electric eels. Otherwise, if he had bled and could not fly, he would probably have been devoured until not even his bones were left. Chapter 10:10. Spread out. Swoosh, swoosh. The four of them flew backward in the air and quickly rushed to the shore. Swoosh. Ferocious fishes rushed out from the bottom of the water. Their fangs were longer than chopsticks and could actually block the sword energy. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The four of them retreated as they killed, crushing countless ferocious fishes. Their bodies were covered in blood, and the smell of blood stimulated the ferocious fishes. The entire swamp surged violently, overturning rivers and seas. Soon, the four of them retreated to the shore. Their faces were stained with blood, and their bodies were covered in flesh. They looked at the swamp with ashen faces. How heaven-defying is this guy's luck? He can actually pass through this swamp. He doesn't have any divine power and can't fly. How is he different from a mortal? Li Feng said angrily. His luck has always been heaven-defying. I'm used to it. Zixin shrugged. He had followed Yi Qinghan since he was a lower god. He had never seen anyone luckier than him. However, those who followed Yi Qinghan earlier would know that he was a jink. No matter where he went, he would not have a good ending. What should we do? If we can't pass through the swamp, we won't be able to find him. Dong Qin looked at the sky anxiously. She discovered that many birds had begun to capture these ferocious fishes, breathing and devouring them. Some of the fish's natural predators, the eagles, were dragged into the water and died on the spot. They were eaten by the ferocious fishes until not even their bones were left. Clearly, there were countless birds and ferocious beasts hiding in the forest around the swamp. If they walked above, they would be hunted down by the bird. If they wanted to walk below, they would have to fight these ferocious fishes to the death. Let's change our route. Let's go to the mountain range on the left first. Li Feng quickly chose to change their route. He took the lead and rushed to the misty mountain range on the left. The four of them flew in a large circle. The misty mountain range in front of them was completely opposite of where Yi Qinghan was, so they were getting further and further away. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, was free and unfettered in Martial God City. After becoming familiar with them, he no longer had his guard up. He was even allowed to enter the Beast Tamer faction's library to browse through ancient books. However, he was not allowed to go near any secret techniques related to divine abilities. He could only browse through historical books on the third floor and below. On the 10th day after Yi Qinghan obtained the spirit-devouring godly parrot, Yi Qinghan came to the library again. Most of the books here were ancient books from the Chaos Era. The language of the Chaos Era was hard to understand. Even the most basic history books were filled with profound knowledge. The divine bird jumped left and right, unable to settle down. It was so noisy that Yi Qinghan was annoyed. I want to go upstairs. There are treasures. The divine bird said frankly. Yi Qinghan curled his lips and said disdainfully, "This is someone's library. It's normal for there to be treasures here. Even if you go up, do you think you can take it away? Be careful, they might pluck all your hair out." What a pity, what a pity. If I could beat them, I would take the entire library. The divine bird's eyes were shining with excitement. It was still unwilling to give up. Yi Qinghan was at his wits' end. He could not force it to recognize him as its master. If it did, it would be sealed in its bloodline. Moreover, if it was not willing, it could not be imprinted into its body. Like the god-slaying eagle, it was easier to serve. Fortunately, he had removed its master-servant contract. Although it did not recognize him as its master, it had obediently turned into an imprint and hid it on his wrist as a life-saving trump card. Shut up now. I'll flip through the ancient books. Perhaps I can find information about the chaos origin and see if the martial Dao origin is truly irreparable, Yi Qinghan said helplessly. Hurry up and flip through the books. Let my husband out. I want to have children with him and strengthen my divine bird clan. The divine bird was even more anxious than Yi Qinghan. It immediately shut up. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. However, with his experience, he knew that this kind of bird was more despicable. He did not want to argue with it, so he lowered his head and flipped through the most ancient books. However, the books below the third level were not very valuable. The truly valuable ones were from the fourth level and above. There were a total of 9 levels. The books that could be read up to the 9th level were invaluable. In 10 days, he finished reading all the books below the 3rd level, but still did not find the clues he wanted. He could not help but frown. He looked at the 4th level and thought to himself, I have to discuss with the clan elder. I'll use martial techniques to exchange for historical books. These books should not be so precious, right? At this moment, 2 people came down from the 4th level. It was the brother and sister, Jiang Jingheng and Jiang Jingyun. Hey, senior, are you done reading? Jiang Jingyun's face was red. She was like a fairy in the human world. She skipped over to Yi Qinghan, not daring to raise her head and look directly at him. Yes. Yi Qinghan pretended to be cold. He nodded and said, I'm done, but there's no information that I want. There are no valuable historical books below the 3rd level. We can only wander around the 5th level and below. Moreover, we have to pay a lot of contribution points each time. I'm almost out of contribution points, Jiang Jingyun said, feeling wronged. Senior Yi, we're going to the central city for a gathering tomorrow. Do you want to try your luck? You might be able to buy something good, Jiang Jingheng interrupted and reminded him. Gathering? What gathering? Yi Qinghan was stunned. He immediately asked. It's the gathering of the 3 beast tamer tribes. We'll all use treasures that we can't use in exchange for things that we can use. It's a trade of items. Secret techniques for secret techniques, secret techniques for secret techniques, godly medicines for godly medicines, Jiang Jingheng explained. The 3 cities represented the 3 beast tamer tribes. Although they were all beast tamer tribes, they had different inheritances and surnames. Their interests were very important and there were even some conflicts. Overall, there was no great hatred. However, it was normal for them to suppress each other. They all wanted to suppress the other tribes. The Jiang tribe, the Xianyuan tribe, and the Yan clan. This gathering is different from the past. There will be a competition among the younger generation. It will probably last for half a month. If you want to go, you'll have to discuss it with the clan elder first. You can only go if the clan elder agrees, Jiang Jingyun reminded him again. Yi Qinghan nodded. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. He said to the siblings, help me go to the 4th and 5th floor to look through the historical documents. Look for records about the origin of martial arts and the origin of chaos. Copy them down for me, and I can teach you other secret techniques of the Master God level. Is that okay? Of course. But I don't seem to have enough contribution points. Jiang Jingyun turned to look at Jiang Jingheng and pouted. If he missed out on such a good opportunity, he probably wouldn't be able to forgive himself for the rest of his life. It was obvious that he wanted to borrow contribution points from him. Jiang Jingheng rarely went out and didn't have many contribution points. After all, contribution points were exchanged for divine herbs and supreme treasures. They were very valuable. Therefore, he was in a difficult position at this moment. Yi Qinghan took out a crystal token. There were 300 contribution points inside. It was given to him by Jiang Wu. 300 contribution points were equivalent to 30,000 pieces of chaos divine roots in the outside world. It was priceless. He didn't care about it and casually gave it to Jiang Jingyun. He said calmly, I've looked through everything below the 3rd floor. I can't go up to the 4th floor. I don't have any use for this anymore. I'll give it to you. There are 200 contribution points inside. It's enough for you to stay here for a month. Jiang Jingyun reached out and snatched it without hesitation. He stuck out his tongue, afraid that Yi Qinghan would go back on his word. Chapter 10-11. Yi Qinghan shrugged, left the library, and went directly to the clan elder's hall. The clan elder was sitting in the pavilion, drinking tea and cultivating his mind. He was very comfortable. When he saw Yi Qinghan come in, he nodded and said, "Did you find anything useful?" "This junior did not find the records I wanted, but thank you, senior," Yi Qinghan said with a bow. "Sit down. It's not that this old man forbids you from entering the 4th floor and above, but the ancestral rules forbid outsiders from entering." The clan elder gestured with his hand and said solemnly, "Yes, I asked Jiang Jingheng and Jiang Jingyun to help me read the records about the origin of martial arts and the origin of chaos and extract them. I will give you the secret technique as compensation. I did not discuss this with you in advance, so please don't blame me," Yi Qinghan said truthfully. "As long as it's purely historical records, it's fine." The old man was very calm and did not have the slightest dignity. Perhaps it was because he had always been aloof from worldly affairs that he was so easy to talk to. "Thank you, senior. This junior has another matter. I heard that tomorrow is the gathering of the beast tamers. This junior wants to go with them to broaden his horizons. I hope senior will allow me to do so." Yi Qinghan looked at the old man and asked expectantly, "Okay, but don't say that you're an outsider. Just change your attire a little and follow Jiang Jingheng and his sister closely. Just say that you're their elder brother, Jiang Jingtian." The elder hesitated for a moment, then said with a sigh, "Jiang Jingtian was a peerless genius who cultivated to the giant god realm at the age of 10,000. This was the true giant god of chaos level, which was slightly higher than Yi Qinghan's current level. His combat strength was monstrous, and his martial arts skills, as well as his tamed chaos divine beast Qilin cub, allowed him to sweep through the younger generation of the beast tamers. He even surpassed the older generation of giant god. However, 10 years ago, he entered the abyss world and mysteriously disappeared. No one knew if he was alive or dead, causing the Jiang clan to suffer heavy losses. Jingtian is used to wearing beast skins and a Qilin mask. This old man has a set of his clothes here. Take it and wear it." The clan elder's face was gloomy and sorrowful, as if Jiang Jingtian was his closest relative. Yi Qinghan watched as the old man took out a set of animal skin clothing and a mask. His fingertips twitched, but he didn't immediately put them on. Yi Qinghan was curious as to why the elder wanted him to pretend to be such a genius. "You must be very puzzled, right?" The clan elder smiled bitterly. He stroked the Qilin mask and said in a hoarse voice, "Jingtian is my great-great-grandson, as well as Jing Heng and Jing Yun's elder brother. He is the child I value the most and has the potential to inherit my position in the future. He is also someone who has the ability to lead our clan to the peak. Unfortunately, the heavens are jealous of geniuses. His life tablet broke, but strangely, it did not break. I am completely unable to tell whether he is alive or dead." The clan elder took a deep breath and sighed. The beast tamers were divided into 3 factions. Originally, it was just to make it convenient for the inheritance. However, later on, they were divided into 3 factions. In the absence of external enemies, the internal strife between the 3 factions is very fierce. In recent years, our clan has only produced one genius, Jingtian. If they know that Jingtian has left, our martial god city will have a hard time. Letting you pretend to be him is also to intimidate the other 2 factions. Don't worry, no one dares to challenge Jingtian, so your identity will not be exposed. Only then did Yi Qinghan understand. He reached out and took the clothes and mask. Your figure is very similar to his. Can you put it on and let me take a look? The clan elder asked in a hoarse voice. Yi Qinghan nodded. He got up and found a room to change into the clothes. Then, he put on the mask and walked over. The clan elder's eyes were actually filled with murky tears. His hands were trembling as he muttered, so much like him. Strong and vigorous body, muscular limbs, hair flying behind his temples, and his bare arms appearing thick and powerful. This unique temperament could only be displayed by Yi Qinghan. Only this kind of person could display the confidence of an invincible king. The clan only knows that Jingtian has entered the depth. They don't know that he has gone missing. They also don't know that his life tablet has been broken. You appeared in his name. Your voice is a bit hoarse and slightly changed. No one can recognize you. After all, you haven't appeared for 10 years. The clan elder reminded him in a deep voice. If someone really provokes you at the gathering, you can completely ignore it. You must not make a move because that group of elites is really powerful. They are even more powerful than Jiang Wu. Coupled with their divine power and ferocious pets, you are no match for them. Yi Qinghan nodded and said, Senior, don't worry. I will act according to my ability. I will not be reckless. After the discussion, Yi Qinghan returned to his room. He waited until nighttime before Jiang Jingyun and Jiang Jingheng came over with the handwritten notes that they had extracted. Yi Qinghan looked at the few pieces of craft paper and said, You two go back first. I won't be going to the gathering. When you return from the gathering, I will teach you the Chaos Giant God's divine ability, the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. However, you two will have to continue helping me extract records about the origin of martial arts and the origin of chaos. Did the clan elder not allow you to go? Jiang Jingyun asked unhappily. Yi Qinghan smiled and nodded. I'm an outsider. It's not very good for me to enter your gathering. Finally, the two of them left. Yi Qinghan flipped through the summary and carefully read every word until dawn. Only then did he thoroughly study the dozen or so pages of text. However, there was almost no useful information. There was one sentence that he could not figure out. The origin of all the laws of heaven and earth is chaos. When one spiritual force fuses with chaos, one will become one with the heavens. The heavenly Tao is boundless, one will have infinite strength, and one will be invincible. Only then will one be supreme. Yi Qinghan stared at this sentence for a long time. He did not understand how a person's spiritual force could fuse with chaos. Chaos was an empty term that represented the chaotic universe and everything. Regardless of whether it was a person or a god, if one could fuse with the chaotic universe, wouldn't they become the heavenly Tao? Wouldn't they be able to shatter all shackles with a wave of their hand? Wouldn't their will be the will of the heavenly Tao? Wherever they looked, they would become their subjects. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and sensed the chaos. His spiritual force was so weak that it was almost negligible. He could not sense any laws or great Tao at all. After trying for a long time, he had no choice but to give up. When he opened his eyes again, it was already dawn. The world outside was still gray, but it was much brighter than at night. The people outside had already begun to gather. The clan elder personally led the team, leaving only Jiang Wu and the city guards. There were at least 4 people with the combat strength of a chaos giant god. In addition, there were more than 100 youths in the prime of their lives. This was enough to protect Martial God City. Many children shouted excitedly. They had been selected to represent Martial God City and compete with the children of the other 2 factions. This was an honor. If they won, they would return as heroes and receive 1,000 contribution points. Jiang Jingyun and Jiang Jingtian were among them. The clan elder glanced at Yi Qinghan's room from the corner of his eye. He was wearing a mask and animal skin clothes. He quietly walked into the crowd, causing a huge commotion. Oh my God! It's brother Jingtian! Jingtian is back! The ancestor god has appeared! Jingtian is back! Jiang Jingheng and the others shouted excitedly. They did not recognize Yi Qinghan at all. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.